This episode of Off My Shelf contains coarse language and adult conversation. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, my name is Trace James and welcome to Off My Shelf, a podcast about movies that are well off my shelf, where we go through my DVDs and talk about the movies in my collection. In this episode, Nilesh Patel joins me in talking about two quiet character studies from the early 2000s with Shopgirl and Sideways. Oh, welcome!
Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming. It took you long enough, but what else?
It's fun to always come back on another episode of the same season as opposed to like coming back next year.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it took you, 3 years to come on in the first place?
Yes.
And then another year after that.
I was very shy, but I think I'm in my non-shy era.
I find it's hard to get new guests on here because people are just like, oh my god, I don't have anything to say about movies, oh my god. And then when you don't have a mic in front of people, they will talk to you about movies for hours. And I'm just like, what do you mean you don't have anything to say about movies?
Everybody has an opinion about something.
Yeah, and I think the problem is people expect to be like, oh, we have to deconstruct the scene. I'm like,
you're not gonna get this. You're not gonna get that on this episode. That is for sure. That is not happening. And I remember watching Shopgirl and just thinking to myself, like, this movie requires someone who's going to be like, what does it mean that the glass, the drink that he's having is clear sometimes, and they really focus on this glass of water, and then later on it turns into this deep murky Coke with ice in it, and I'm just like, okay, I'm getting too deep into it.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah. But, I mean, a lot of that is in this movie, but we'll talk about that.
I don't think either of these movies are that deep. I think they're both surface level. That does not make them bad.
No.
But they're pretty straightforward in what they're saying and what the story is that they're telling.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be like, oh, so because the camera's angled upward, it means this, but is it facing downward? It means something else. Yeah. No, that's not. None of that's in it.
And then there are some moments where you're watching and going I wonder why they chose this. Are they trying to, kind of denote something through the way that the scene is lensed? But, the more you think about it, the deeper you can get into a movie.
Yes.
Just by overly fixating on details. But we'll get into my fixations in a moment.
Later?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, they're character studies. So it's really about the character of the person they're representing, not about how the film is being shot, per se.
Yeah.
Is what I got out of it. But,
Even though, they're shot in very interesting ways. But
really?
I'd probably say, it said there's a telltale sign to how it's shot. When you watch Sideways, you kind of know that this movie obviously didn't have a great budget because it's shot almost like a TV movie. And, the way that the texture of what you're seeing is kind of like that, too, a little bit.
Production value.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like when you're watching Shopgirl, you can tell that, this movie had a little teeny tiny budget, but it did have some kind of a budget.
Yeah.
Sideways feels like, okay, we're just going to pretend that we're not shooting a movie here. You guys are going to drive back and forth on this road, and we're going to, it feels very,
hang out.
Yeah, it feels a bit more like Gonzo than Shopgirl. Shopgirl feels very much like there was set scenes, everything's been scripted out.
Yeah.
And yet it has some shortcomings, but
well, both of these movies are based on books. Did you read either of these books?
I have not, but I know how Shopgirl actually came into my world because Tracy and I worked together. If you've heard previous episodes, you know that we have a work history, and that's how we know each other. And I remember that the book came out, and I remember seeing this little red book with a little window of an illustration of a girl or someone in shadow or something. Yeah, something like that. And I remember I was like, what are you reading? And you're like, Shopgirl. I was like, that book looks really tiny. And then she's like, yeah, it is. She's like, it's like a short novel. I'm like, okay, interesting. I was like, and who wrote it? And you're like, Steve Martin. And I was like, the actor? So I remember this interaction about how this came about. I remember when it came out at TIFF. I don't know if you want to go see it at TIFF because I feel
I did not.
But you were like, oh my God, it's coming out. And
I wanted to see it.
And it was produced into a movie pretty, like, shortly after its release. It wasn't like the book came out and then 7 years went by and then it got turned into a movie.
Well, I mean, Steve Martin, even before this, had written scripts for movies that had been made.
Yeah.
So I feel like he wrote this novella, and they're just like, well, it's fucking Steve Martin. Let's just make the movie.
Right.
I feel that's how it came about. And I have read all his books since. I don't think he's written a fourth book yet.
Right.
Because I read this. I read The Pleasure of My Company and An Object of Beauty. And they're all very different books. They're all character studies. He's a very, I find, for the person that he has presented in media, his books do not have banjos, A, and B, are a lot more melancholy than you'd expect them to be.
Yeah.
But they're all character studies based on relationships between men and women in some way.
Through like a male perspective, though.
Well,
at least Shopgirl.
But he's a man. He's going to write it from a male perspective.
Yeah.
And it's not like his men are evil or actively trying to be
They're terrible people, though.
They're just not good people. Yeah, exactly.
I will say that both movies, and I'm, thanks so much for giving me the episode where all the men are triggering. You know what I mean? Just toxic male examples.
Yeah. And
very much so, like, in Shopgirl specifically, like Jason Schwartzman's character, we've known guys who are like that.
Yes.
And, just the fact that they would then subsequently start dating someone, and we would often look at each other and just say to each other, like, someone's dating him?
Why?
Yeah, why? And
this movie actually tries to answer that question, but...
Yeah. I think it's really interesting, though, because I feel like one of the pivotal moments early on in the movie is, like, how Claire Danes is described in the narration that Steve Martin does in the movie, which I hate that, because I feel like movies are not... Don't tell me, show me.
But I think... This is actually one of my notes about this movie. I was like, the narration in this is not necessary.
No, and it just shows.
It actually I find it distracts from.
Do you feel that it was something that was decided while they were editing, and then somebody was like, "Listen, this is just not doing enough. You're gonna have to narrate some part of this because we just don't feel anything from here."
I feel like.
Or was it scripted beforehand that he's gonna narrate this part, overlapping a scene? Because I feel like. In a lot of places where that happens, you're just kind of like, this didn't need that.
Exactly. Which throws me off.
Yeah. Because even...
You're in it, you're in the scene, you're seeing what's happening, and you're just like... And you're getting it, essentially. But if I remember correctly, there are paragraphs just out of the book. It's not rewritten
no.
or anything.
It's very much like he just wrote it with the screenplay in his mind.
Yeah. And I was just like... But I know he has a producer credit on it as well.
Yeah.
So he has a say in if like that narration is going to be in or out.
Right.
But as like the director and like filmmaker, I would have been like, can we not or put out a quote unquote director's cut, which is very popular these days. I mean, like, we're taking the narration out of it, just like they did with like Blade Runner. Like, just take it out.
And it actually comes off. Like, because it's just reading paragraphs out of the novel, it doesn't even, like, when you're listening to it, it doesn't come off really well written, because you're literally having somebody read a stanza or, like, a paragraph out of a novel, as opposed to, like, someone where the screenplay actually has, like, real narration, like, written into it. Mm-hmm. It feels a lot more organic when you're listening to it, as opposed to somebody just reading a paragraph out of a novel. It can feel very, like, disjointed.
Well, I think that's because the way... When it's out of a novel...
It's invoking imagination as opposed to... Yeah.
Because... And the description he gives, he's like, I don't even remember what their names are right now. But like Claire Danes' character. And he's like, Maribel. Well, Maribel is feeling this... Buttersfield?
Buttersfield.
Yeah. Well, Maribel is feeling this and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, but we don't need to know how she's feeling. It's supposed to be, you see her in her monotony of life and how she's not enjoying her life. Mm-hmm. And you're with the character. I don't need to know what she's actually thinking.
Even in the beginning of the movie, I think it starts off being like, oh, she's looking for love, but you understand that.
Yeah.
She's looking for love to find her is what the line is.
Yeah.
And it's very weird because you're kind of like, but I already got that because the movie shows like how she's living. Like movie opens with her just living her day.
Yeah. And she's at work and she's at her counter.
And she's not very social.
Yeah.
And
she's just staring at these couples going by in this longing manner. I'm like, yeah, we figured this out. Why are you telling me? Like, it's just...
Even in how she dresses, because in the beginning of the movie, she dresses rather provincial. And then you kind of... Just somebody says, like... I think she says it. Maybe she's like, oh, I'm from Vermont. And you're like, okay, got it. You know? And, like, at first you're like, why are you in L.A. dressing like you're from Nantucket? Like, I don't understand what's going on. And then but you kind of obviously start to get her backstory without the narration. Yeah. And I think like that's sort of like works to the movie's detriment to a weird way because it doesn't allow you to glean whatever it is you want to, you know, take away from a scene. Instead, it's trying to like force feed you the emotion. So to me, I feel like that's sort of like a little, I think it's something that they could have just edited out.
Correct. I absolutely agree with you because I did not like it. Yeah. Like it just, and also the fact I think that it's Steve Martin narrating it where he is a character in the movie, but the narrator is not connected to that person in the movie because it's not being told from his perspective or anything. It's being told from like a godlike perspective. So it should have also been narrated by someone else if it is going to be narrated.
Instead of his voice.
Yeah.
Because he's I don't know about you, but okay, so if we're to play a game, we'll play this game for the other movie too. So, because, you know, as I said, they're all toxic men through both movies. Yeah. So would you say if you had to play this game, the game's going to be called Trash or Treasure? Mm-hmm. So, Trash or Treasure, Jason Schwartzman's character.
At the beginning or the end of the movie?
Doesn't matter. I'm talking about the whole, like the whole arc.
The thing is, by the end of the movie, I really like him because he has clearly taken note of things and has gotten better. And I would have gone on that like second date with him, whatever, the 18 months later, whatever it was. Sure. Would I be in a relationship with him? Yeah. That's real questionable.
Agreed. So trash.
I guess trash. Sorry, okay. Yeah, trash.
Steve Martin's character.
Trash.
100% trash.
Yeah. But but the thing is how it's presented in the movie and how the character is presented, you understand why she falls for it.
Yes. But in one of the problems that I have with it, and I think that is, again, like I said, when I mentioned that it is very much like looking at women through like a male lens, just in the way that she's photographed, like the way that she's lensed in the movie, the fact that she's like naked more often than anybody else on camera. And to me, I feel like a lot of it is very much like this. Both men are kind of looking at her through their own kind of experience, but Steve Martin in general, he's just a terrible character because every time he does something just slightly redemptive, he just completely derails it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's what it's supposed to be. Like, you can't help but look at people except through the lens of your experience. I agree with that, right? But the problem with specifically Steve Martin's character is that, and the reason why he cannot love her is because she is an object. And it's one of those things where it's like, he looks at her like an object that you cherish. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, like you gave me a Beanie Baby as a gift once, right? Mm-hmm. I love that thing. That thing is great. I will take care of it. But if I lose it, would I rip out all my hair? No. Right? So, and that's the thing with Steve Martin's character in this. Like, he likes her and cherishes her as this object that he's put on this stool that he can walk away from whenever he wants to and come back to whenever he feels like it. But she's not a person.
No, not to him. She's not actualized to him.
No, she's just somebody who is available when he is in town. And because he has the money, he can pretend to show caring. By, like, he just buys her stuff. Yeah. They don't go out. much or anything like that.
He never goes to her place.
He never goes to her place because, you know, her place is beneath him.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, he does things like
there's even a moment, when he says, like, when he's at, the only time that he's at her apartment, he's like, well, I think I could see your place from mine. And, like, and finally when they get to his home, he's, like, looking at it through binoculars. So the correlation is that really that while he can kind of understand her experience as a young person who's trying to kind of, like, figure out her life, he's so distanced, not just literally,
so removed,
but so just completely removed from her life, would not know the first thing about her experience. And within that is that sort of crux of the movie, that, like, he doesn't really know what she's feeling internally until she, like, has a depressive episode, and then basically he has to take her to the hospital. But even then, he, like, tries to cheer her up in that scene. He's like, hey, here's plane tickets to come see me in New York.
Yeah, he buys her something.
Yeah, yes. And basically she's like, thanks, and goes to sleep. And you can see that he feels a bit like, oh, you're like, he's not getting the response that he thought he was going to get.
Well, because that's what she does for him. She's like, I need a boost to my ego.
Yep.
I will buy you something and you will praise me, and I'll have sex with this beautiful young thing.
Yeah.
And then I can get on with my day. Because but he, like, has a way of making it seem like he is compromising or being thoughtful, because there's also the part where when she's leaving his house super early and she's like, well, I gotta go home, change, and go to work. And she's like, well, why don't you can sleep by me sometimes, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, why don't you just bring your stuff here and keep it here instead, and I can drop you to work.
And she takes it to be meaning more than it actually does to him.
Like, he's like, oh, he wants me to leave things here. Oh my God, it's gone to another level.
Yeah.
And no, that's not, he is continuing to be selfish, but masking it in this way where he's like, oh, I'm compromising, I'm being good.
He's kind of like cleaning up whatever ails him with money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will say, I'm like, what's really interesting is that both, even though they're far apart in age and experiences, they're both deeply rooted in insecurity. The reason he does what he does is because he's really insecure too. And the first, like, date that they go out on or whatever, I think after he asked her, he's like, oh, am I just too boring? And she's like, well, kinda. And then she says the same thing. She's like, well, am I boring? And they're both just trying to, like, mirror this thing back to each other, but in reality they're both operating from that same place of, like, having that knot in your stomach where you just don't think that greatly of yourself, and you're seeking, like, external validation to stand in for, like, the love that you should have for yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially, and I feel like that experience is really common when you're coming up in your 20s. If you are someone who really has come through your formative years not really getting, like, you know, that weird validation or approval where everybody's like, oh, you're so smart, you're so pretty, or whatever the thing is, or
even just getting rewarded for things that you do.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. And I think then when you grow up and you start to kind of come into, like, your adult era, you start to kind of seek it through usually, like, being physical with someone, being sexual with someone, and then getting that kind of attention to stand in for the affection that you should have for yourself. You know what I mean?
Those are, like, people who are perpetually dating or perpetually in couples.
Yeah. Or even perpetually just literally taking the smallest morsel of someone's attention and being like, sure, I'll go out with you, I'll go to bed with you, it doesn't matter. And, like, we've known people like this, especially people that we worked with.
Yeah.
And we could see it from a mile away. And a lot of times when you're standing on the outside, you feel just a deep sense of empathy, but you also really feel sorry for them. And I really, when I was watching the movie, the uncomfortable part was, I think, being at our ages now, having to see someone go through that, you know, as being in the now, you're just kind of wanting to scream, like, stop talking to both of these people.
Yes, just go away. Just you don't need this in your life. Yes, as a person who is perpetually single, I understand her want for attention and her want for affection, but at the same time, I'm also the person who's just like, you're trouble, I don't need this.
Yeah.
Or, no, you can't degrade me, I don't need this.
But sometimes I feel like when you're younger, and we've shared instances with each other of undesirables that we've somehow gotten in the twist with. And I think that what's really interesting is that can only happen when you're not, like, introspective enough or self-actualized enough that you have that awareness in the back of your head being like, this person is terrible.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas now I think we're both rather be like, I'd rather be home than have to deal with you.
Exactly. And this is the thing, like the part where she throws out Jason Schwartzman's phone number.
Yeah.
And then she hears like a thing on the radio about like just wanting to be hugged and whatever. And
then
like,
digs in the trash.
Then digs in the trash for it. I was just like, I'm sorry, he's in the trash for a reason.
Because you thought that he was trash. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, when we were playing the game, I was like, treasure or trash? He's trash.
Yeah, he's trash.
But you're willing to take on anything as a placeholder because you just don't have enough, like, self-worth yet.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, it's very uncomfortable to see that, I think, being as old as I am now, to then go backwards and not that I really had big experiences with feeling that way, but just I think like I think if I saw somebody who was substantially younger than me now going through that, I'd just be like, I'm gonna give you one hot tip: run
away. Yeah. Yes, you just throw out the phone number, just tell them to leave you alone.
Yeah,
blah blah blah. Because like he at so many points in their like one date, he clearly showed that he had no interest in her as a person, just her as a body. And I was like, because they go on the date, and the thing is, it's not about him being broke and him taking her somewhere to just hang out. That's not what the issue is.
It's not that he's poor. I think it's just the fact that he's a loser. Like, it's not, and the poor and the loser thing they're not
exclusive.
It's not exclusive at all.
Because Steve Martin in this movie I would call him a loser.
He's a loser. Yeah, and he's actually pretty wealthy in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing with Jason Schwartzman character is it's, at the end of the date, it's the I took you out, even though I didn't do anything for you, and I was rude, and I was insulting. But I took you out, therefore you owe me some sort of favor. I mean, at first it's just a kiss, and then he would like kept implying that he wanted to go inside, and she's like, "No, I'm good.
Like, I have to go to sleep because you're an idiot.
And are you gonna kiss me or what?" And you're just like, "What? No, yeah. Why would she do any of these things?"
And how many times have you heard that? Like, as growing up, where somebody's just like expecting something from you just because they're like, well, I was nice to you and I spent time with you, so
therefore you owe me something.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's gross, right? And then later, and then when she does call him and is like instigate stuff, he doesn't have a condom, and he's like, well, I could use a baggie. Like, what?
A Jif bag.
I was like, what?
Yeah, it's terrible. And then he goes to her neighbor, like. Yeah.
Oh, because that means he does not care about her in any way, shape, or form.
No, not at all.
Not about her feelings, not about her surroundings, not about how she feels in this sexual interaction at all. Because it's all about him.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's pretty telling that her cat then, like, basically attacks him while they're in coitus. So...
And then that's the only time you see her cat, which I think is weird. But
you see the cat again towards the end when they're in a relationship, but that's when the cat just is happy for her and is just watching him being a decent human being and doesn't attack him anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, cats know. Cats know what's up.
They understand.
Yeah. This movie is very much like a 2005 era kind of.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's literally that.
Yeah, it's a very 2005 era kind of movie because I think when you're watching you're like, some of the stuff that's going on would never stand today. Like, I think just like the generation that's coming up, hopefully they're not falling for this mess. Some are for sure, but I think there's a lot more awareness of it too because it's so much more in like in the zeitgeist of what people talk about. So
yeah, but I also think this is gonna make me sound a little old, but people today, like younger persons, like 30 and under, don't think, like, they want to have good sex, but they don't think sex is important. It's like hanging out with somebody. You want to? Sure, let's, like, just, you're like on a...
It's more transactional?
It's not just transactional. It's just like a thing that you do.
Right.
You know, it's not cementing a relationship or a like for somebody. It's just a thing that you do.
Yeah.
You have, this is men and women. This is not a thing separating the sexes or anything. Yeah. It is men and
in
women.
This movie too, I would say to a certain extent, Claire Danes is getting something out of it, even though it's been written that way, because it is very much like the way that it's presented is like Steve Martin's giving her all these gifts and she's so happy with the gifts, and like so she's kind of aware of the nature of the relationship, but to her she feels like the presents are more born out of their dynamic as opposed to just her being like a pet, you know?
Yeah, because she doesn't ask for anything of these things. She doesn't want any of these things. He gives it to her and she's happy that therefore he has thought about her and gotten her something. Yeah. But that's not what it is from his side. He's just like, you're supposed to give them gifts and that keeps them happy, right? That's what he's thinking. Mm-hmm. And she's just like, no, he's thinking about me and oh my goodness.
She even tells her friends that the only times her friends appear in this movie. Yeah. Which, by the way, it's hilarious that this movie does not have room for the backstory of any of the other additional characters that show up in the movie, including her family. Yeah. And who's driving her to her parents' home? Who's that person getting out of the car? You don't know. Is it a brother?
Wasn't it a cab?
No, it was just a regular car because she's sitting in the front.
Oh, I don't know. I really should have reread the book because it's like 150 pages or something.
But it's too early for Uber to be in this movie.
Oh no, it's definitely not Uber or anything. But I remember in the book as well, there is just that one chapter with her family. Yeah, and it's just like she's like, "Screw this, I'm going home."
It's really interesting that you mentioned that because there is that moment where he calls her while she's visiting her parents, and there is that scene where they go through the hallway and just she's looking at her mom while she's on the phone. And then her mom turns towards her, and the instant she turns towards her, she's like, okay, fine, I'm coming.
Well, because she doesn't want to be like her mother.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be provincial.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not just about, I think...
She doesn't want, like, that domestic...
She doesn't want a basic domestic life, A. And B, her mother looks unhappy. Like, her mother looks unhappy. And she's like, I don't want to be unhappy.
Right. And she wants adventure. She wants that thing of like, oh, I went to New York. And then when she goes up to New York,
I did a thing.
Yeah. Like, it's something that's feeding that, like, you know, that fire that you have when you're very, very young, where you're like, I need to get out in the world. I need to do these things. And this is what I dream, like that eternal dream of youth. Yeah. That's very clearly exemplified in this movie. Yeah.
And for her...
Even for Jason Schwartzman, actually.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, both of their lives change greatly when they start saying yes to things. And, yeah, she gets her heart broken, essentially. But because she made this good decision for herself, she's able to say yes to her art and yes to quitting this job where it's pointless. And yes, she gets kind of the same job, but also it's in a place she actually wants to be in. Right. And she gets access to things she wants to be a part of. So it automatically starts getting better. And him, yes, it was her that was just like, go for your dream, go do something. Right. And then he actually does it. And because of this, what's really funny, he's on a bus with a bunch of rock stars and he'd be like, oh, they're just going to have like sex with random women and now they're real objects. But his rock star friends were just like, listen to some fucking yoga, dude. Oh, here's some relationship shit.
Here's some self-help. And the guy who buys it for him, he's like, yeah, we're getting all of the self-help stuff because you
need this.
You need this. You're like completely just a child. Yeah. And it's really interesting that he calls her at one point on the cell phone. He's like, and he has a book in his hand. He's like, I'm so sorry that I've been treating you like he needs the prompt. So it's so interesting because I don't think you get to see someone doing like quote unquote the work of bettering themselves or bettering their thought patterns in a movie very often. And this is a movie where you get to see somebody actively doing that. And it's very obvious that he's like, he's like, okay, I'm not there yet, like in terms of how I feel. Yeah. But I think I'm trying to, like basically grok whatever is in this book and kind of say to myself, okay, I got it. Okay, this is what I need to tell her because this is what I was doing. So he's recognizing the pattern, but he's not quite there yet.
There was one other movie that the same thing kind of happens in it, and it's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt and
300 Days of Summer?
No, it's Don John. No, he's an asshole in 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
Like, beginning to end. His character does not improve in any way, shape, or form. But in Don John, that has Scarlett Johansson and Julianne Moore.
And he's working through sex addiction in that, right?
Essentially, it's not sex addiction. What it is that he has spent a lot of his life watching porn. So when he has sex with women, he's just like, this is not the same as porn sex.
Yeah.
So, he'll have like a girl in the next room, have sex with her, and then go watch porn and jack off. And it's weird. And then he starts doing like night school and stuff. And then he meets this like older woman who's just like, she's like, sex isn't about that.
Yeah.
Sex is about a connection and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And yes, they use sex the whole movie to be like, be better, string them along and whatever. But also Scarlett Johansson's character is very much like, a man is supposed to be this way. Yeah. And one of the things he likes to do, he likes to clean. He likes to have a clean space. And they go out together and he's like, he buys like sponges and a mop. And he's like, my man doesn't clean floors. Yeah. And my man doesn't do this. And men don't do that. And men do blah, 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 blah. And you're just like... Yeah. So
it's exploring like gender roles.
It's exploring gender roles and how it can be forced. Certain roles can be forced on people, not just on women, but onto men as well. But also men have this false sense of what women are supposed to be as well and how to change.
Which probably makes sense because Steve Martin's of a certain era in Shopgirl, and given the fact that he's wealthy, is then kind of doing what other people at the shop are doing too. Because Claire Danes then has an interaction with this kind of frenemy, who is basically like, older men ask me out all the time, and so that this is then a pattern that they're working at Saks. So there's wealthier men who come in and they kind of like shop for the girl who are working behind the counter. And essentially, those girls have less power in this relationship because they are up and coming. They are not usually very financially well off. And basically, they're kind of giving into the wants and craves of like an older man who's wealthy.
Yeah, but I think the difference between her and Claire Danes' character is that she uses her body to get stuff. Exactly. So, like, whereas Claire Danes was just minding her own business. Yeah. Where she's just like... She's like, every 3 seconds she puts her boobs in front of somebody and flirts with somebody and blah, 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 blah. But also with that said, one of my other notes for this is just like, I don't understand why they introduced her as an enemy in this.
I think it's very unnecessary. I genuinely think that one of the biggest problems is that it's directed by all men. And in 2005, chances are there were no women involved in this production at that level where somebody could say, maybe this character doesn't need to be like this.
Or they need a better through line throughout the movie. Yeah. Because she didn't really have it was always, you saw her from the corner of her eye. Yeah. And then suddenly they have lunch and you're like, oh, they're going to be friends throughout the movie. And then she doesn't show up again until...
She spots Claire Danes in a dress.
In a dress and figures out that this guy bought it. And then she tries to steal him. And I'm like...
But what's her motivation?
What is your motivation for this? She's not your enemy or anything. Yeah. You guys don't interact with each other.
And chances are that guy is then going to end up on you anyway.
Yeah. So what's the big deal? So but I find this is a thing in a lot of movies where... You're not allowed to have just straight... You can't have female friendships. Yeah. Or a female friendship is only good until a man's involved and then one has to steal the man from the other or something. Yeah. And I'm like, but this is not just a 2000s
Also that male viewpoint of like the conservative... I don't want to say provincial, but like the conservative girl who's like in a little sweater set can never be friends with a girl who's a bit more out there.
Yeah, or who's got a whole lot of eyeliner and shows cleavage. Yeah. You can be friends. Just an FYI, you can be friends.
I don't think that like friends need to be twins.
No, they don't. I actually think it's creepy when they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then you always think like, well, who turned into who?
Yeah. Or like, is somebody forcing somebody to do this? Yeah. You're just like... Yeah. You're just like, you just kind of give an eye. Like,
you can have similar traits in your personality, but I sometimes think it's bizarre when they're wearing the exact same thing down to the bag and you're just kind of like, so why are you guys single by femaling each other? What's going on?
It's weird and creepy.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
I agree. I don't know.
But Shopgirl overall, like I said, it's a good... I felt like at the end of the movie, it was really interesting because you do come away with a sense of like, okay, I'm glad that she's doing something for herself because at the end, she's obviously showing her art. She goes from working behind her counter to being self-actualized enough. So she actually has a redemptive arc in her story where like she chooses to walk away from him even though she feels really emotional. Because at the end, he says, you know, Steve Martin comes and they have a conversation and he says, well, I really did love you. And she gets very emotional because that's all she ever wanted from him. But she also knows enough to be like, well, this isn't good enough and I'm not going to take just good enough anymore.
Yeah, but also I feel like she got emotional because I think he believes what he's saying is true, but she knows what he's saying is not true.
Right. And he's just wanting that because now he sees that she's like, in a weird way, it's this thing where, you know, sometimes an older guy, and somebody's actually said this to me once, and you know, you've known me my whole life. I've never not been passionate about the things I'm doing.
Yeah, you always go out there and get what you want when you want it, and you're loud about it. You're like, and so this is the thing I'm doing.
Yeah, and I knew somebody who we were at dinner, and he's like, oh, I just, you know, want you to find something you're true. And I've always had a lot of different interests. And so I remember this conversation, someone said, I just want you to find it, like, you know, what you're really passionate about. And I was like, and in that moment, obviously, I was very young, thinking to myself, like, yeah, they're probably right. And now when I'm grown up, I'm just kind of like, no, actually, you were wrong. You just were a one-trick pony and I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is.
People think you can only be passionate about one thing. You can't be passionate about several things.
Yeah.
But why not? Like, if you're doing something, why not be passionate about it no matter what it is?
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that that's the only thing I have to do for the next 25 years of my life.
Right. Exactly. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also think the reason why he might be a little jealous of her at the end is that he hasn't found that confidence in himself.
No.
But she has.
He's just with some lady who's like a doctor. That's it. I guess he literally, that's all he says about her.
Yes. But also, like, the introduction of her as well, it shows that she is trying to capture him, if you know what I mean. Because that is, what she did is essentially what the other shop girl was telling her to do. You know what you have to do? Just pretend you're not available and give them a whole bunch of head and then they're yours. And essentially that's what she's like. She's like, come home with me. You don't have to do anything. I'll do all the work. Yeah. And you're just like, yeah. Really? Are you having fun doing this? Yeah. If not, then why are you doing it?
And then she's still there in the morning.
Yeah. And she's like, I'll just get up and leave in the night. Because he was annoyed. You could see he was annoyed. He comes over, looks at her. She's like, ugh, and walks away. And I was just like, yeah. Really? Yeah. Really? You know,
he's just busy kind of chasing that feeling of being wanted. But being wanted is, you know, that idea when you don't want yourself enough and you're really seeking that from someone, it only lasts for that 10 seconds. Yes. After which you're back to feeling kind of empty. And so then a lot of what he's feeling is kind of empty because he's on a flight by himself. There's even times where they kind of like pan away from him and like start to go into like the background where like the sky is either nighttime or daytime. And a lot of that to me is very much like, it's kind of that angle in general of like panning down this hallway. It's like, it's kind of just looking and seeking. There's a lot of that happening. The camera's always seeking something out because, you know, it happens in the beginning when Claire Danes ends up at his home and she's just like looking into the hallway and then all of a sudden he comes out, and then it happens again when she's towards the end of the movie where she's sitting, kind of has like this moment of realization of like, do I want to be unhappy later or do I want to be unhappy now? Yeah. And there's this moment of like just the camera tracking down this long hallway of just seeking
how everything is so far away.
Yeah.
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 I thought you said you were going to analyze the camera angle.
Oh, it was really weird. It's done really weird. Speaking of that though, do you feel this movie's disjointed because there's times where it comes off like it's a romantic comedy, especially in the Jason Schwartzman scenes when they're on the bus, feels very much like the mood changes like dramatically.
But I think it's supposed to.
It's supposed to, okay.
It does feel a little disjointed because I feel like there's definitely something cut from the movie that should be there. So there is a little bit, like I think, for example, the part with the friends showing up, like that one scene when she's with her friends, I feel like in the movie, they had initially shot more scenes with them. Yeah. But they wanted her to feel more alone. Yeah. So they cut them out more. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's stuff like that I noticed where I was just like, No, they must have done more with this and then cut it out to make her feel like she's by herself.
Which leads me to confirm the fact that the narration, I feel like, is a last-minute ad.
You think it was a last-minute ad?
I think...
But the narration isn't at parts like that. The narration just says about how lonely she is.
But it happens at the most random times where nothing is needed.
Because it happens, 4 times? 3 times?
Yeah, 4 times, I think.
4 times?
Because I really genuinely think somebody was editing. I was like, guys, you're going to have to read something over this because I'm watching this and it feels kind of empty.
No, but especially the last scene where they're coming out of the art gallery.
Didn't need it.
And he looks back at her and they're like, and Ray knew, blah, blah. And I'm just like, why? Yeah, but we get it.
Why? Yeah. And she even turns. There's a scene where, like, not in the same scene, sorry, there's a moment where she turns and looks back at him and walks into Jason Schwartzman, who's like just holding out his arms. And so she's walking towards like joy in a way and away from like all of this like morose angst that he has.
This difficulty.
Yeah.
That was like
a restless, a feeling of restlessness, which is what she even says. She's like, restless. You're restless. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it just was unnecessary. And even when the movie opens as well, and they're like, they go into her apartment and she's going through her day, and they're like doing a voiceover, and just like,
and it's beautifully shot.
Voiceover happen.
Yeah,
you know. The funny thing is, I'm not switching movies yet, but the funny thing is, in Sideways, they do kind of the same scene with Paul Giamatti.
Oh my god, I have something to talk. I have something to say about this, and it works, and you know something instantly about this person.
Yes, exactly, and I think the voiceover detracts from that scene in this movie where you don't get the chance to get to know her in her way. Yeah, you're told about her by a third party, and you're just like, no, the whole point of this is for me to get to know her. Like, this is the story.
Exactly.
Let me get to know the person.
The only one thing I will say about Shopgirl is that nobody in LA is walking around in long coats. Stop pretending. No one. Not even at nighttime.
What are you talking about? Stylish.
It gets cold, absolutely. But I've been to LA several times and no one is doing this. I don't know where
you... now.
I don't think anybody's doing it in 2005.
Clearly. But
climate change.
She was, like, even the dresses she wore, except for the one in New York that he bought for her, right? Which... showed funnily style at all, but all of her dresses up until that point had that like 1940s aesthetic.
Kate Spade
vibes. You know, with like a pleated skirt at the bottom.
But see, that I got
up and, yes, those I understood. Yeah, right. And except when he bought her a dress, he was just like, no, I'm showing you off, and got her the most glamorous, open back, low cut.
Well, even the dress that he buys her in the middle of the movie, that little like orange or red thing that she's wearing, that's a completely different dress than what she's actually normally wearing. So he's just even showing that, like, I don't really care like what you find interesting. It's really what I find interesting on you.
Yeah. And she only wears it for like twice in the movie. Yeah. Which is like the scene she gets it, she puts it on.
And finally when they're done with each other.
Yeah, because she wore it to his house that day. Yeah. Yeah, and then she was just like, and we're done. So she only wore it for him as well, because she knew this is not what I want to wear. Right. So, you know, and even the dress that he buys, that like the other girl figures out who he is or whatever, because it's like it is that 1940s, you know, pointy boob, half sleeve, tight waist, and A-line skirt at the bottom. But her usual colors were jewel colors, and this was like bright white with purple flowers, and you're just like, you're not even paying attention to what she likes or what she cares about. You're just doing. You're like, she's a pretty doll. Let's dress her up. Yeah, you know, and that's it.
And that's really what it is to him. Yeah, like 100%. I thought it was really cute that like throughout the whole movie, like all she does is smile at her frenemy like the whole time after the one interaction. Like she's like, "Hey."
Yeah, it's being friendly. You're like, I know who you are now, so hello. Yeah, but they clearly were not friends.
No, they had one interaction. Yeah. Which is really forced on by the frenemy girl.
Yes. And I don't know. It made me want to reread the book if I had it still.
You don't have it anymore?
No, I have it. It's just not here where we're recording.
Got it.
It's in a box at my mother's place.
Got it.
So I'd have to go there.
I mean, it's a pretty skinny book to not have, but
yeah, no, I'd keep that.
But you also read it this movie, like I said, it came out in 2005, so you read it
before this movie came out. So probably like 2003, 2004.
I can't tell you that I have a lot of books that I had from 2003. I've given a lot of it away.
I have all of my books still.
Every single one you ever purchased?
Yes.
That's amazing. I consolidated my library last year. A lot of it I donated, and then a lot of it I did give away. I took them to BMV. A couple of books that I had that were huge that I did not read, and I was like, it's just taking up a lot of space. I don't think I'm gonna read it. Give me $5 for it, and they're like, okay, and that was it. At least it's not going in the trash.
Yeah, but all the books I've read, I have.
That's wow. Yeah.
And I read a lot of books.
I was going to say, like, we read a lot of books just because of our past and our present and future. Mm-hmm. But, certain books you read and you're like, oh, this was a nice read. But would I read it again? Would I really care about this book? Not really. There's certain books that I have that are like that where I'm just like, I read it. And what?
I remember reading Shopgirl and really liking the book, and that's why I was really into watching the movie.
I'm sure it's probably a very concise book based on what the screenplay feels like. So, I think in contrast to what was coming out then, it probably feels very minimal and kind of modern, like in terms of the book itself. But I think if I read it today, I would probably be like, this is crazy. You're picking up phones and dialing from your home phone?
This is nuts. I know. Like, throughout the whole movie, I was just like...
Who rings anybody's house phone? That's a crime.
That's nuts. What is going on?
What's a house phone?
Crazy.
And there's a couple of things in that movie that wouldn't work today if this movie came out today, because they'd just be like, you can't have this in the movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't have... Like, what are you guys doing? What is this?
This is just crazy. Is this how people used to live?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. It's...
Yeah.
But I liked it. But do you think they still have glove counters?
To be honest, I shop at Holt's quite a lot, and
you fancy.
No. Let's get it together. They are on promotion and sale a lot more than they were in 2005. Trust and believe. Right. But even the major like department stores. I mean, we don't really have that many department stores, unfortunately, left here. But not really. The counters don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just buy them on these sad little hangers now.
Yeah. What's sad about what makes me mad about it is that even if they're on the sad little hangers, they're still $150 or $200. And I'm like, why would I pay $200 for something on the sad little rack?
Look at the material.
Oh my god. No, but I doubt half the time they're not even like real silk or anything. No.
I mean, now, especially these days, everything's made out of trash.
But they're still crazy, hella expensive.
Yep.
And I'm just like, why? Yeah. Why are you so... You're shit now. Why are you so expensive? Because you want us. This is rayon. My fingers are going to sweat.
Yeah.
This needs to be cheaper.
They're like, well, you did want to be warm in your glass.
I'm like, that's not what this is for, okay? That's not what this is for.
There's nobody telling you about sizes. And like, it's a very different... Like I said, the movie definitely...
They also fat shamed in it, which made me upset.
Did they?
Yeah. Well, when he goes to buy the gloves.
Right. Yeah. And then she says...
she just like subtly fat shames. I was just like, what is wrong with you?
Well, yeah. She says like, oh yeah, it mostly fits anybody except...
Unless they're like big, like really big.
Yeah.
And I was like, was that necessary? Like,
you can have skinny arms even if you're a bodacious girl.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
or
like,
man.
You're allowed to just say it comes in 2 sizes, but this one will fit most people.
Yeah.
You can just stop there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that emphasis was just so unnecessary. I was like, what the fuck is...
I mean, she is living in LA.
I guess. It is a...
Some LA has seeped into her.
Yeah. It is a very aesthetic specific culture there, I will admit.
Very much so.
I have never been. I would like to go. I don't think I would like being there. I feel like people be like, you look like trash.
No, you'd be really surprised. LA has some fun parts, which, funnily enough, like the fact that Sideways is really talking about California. California is beautiful in general, but LA is interesting in bits and pieces. There's some parts of it that are more interesting than others, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I've watched way too many movies where they go all over LA and stuff. Yeah. I get it.
But yeah, I love, like, even if you're traveling around in LA, like if you're in the Hollywood Hills, like for real, some of the houses are gorgeous. I mean, if you get murdered, nobody's ever going to find you because there's no cell phone reception in 2024. But it's very beautiful.
Why they're supposed to plant the fake trees that are actually cell towers or whatever.
Okay, sure. I'm still waiting on it.
Hasn't happened yet.
Well, I went 4 years ago, so no, it wasn't the case.
So at the height of like the beginning of the pandemic, you went to LA and was like the world was ending. Of course, you did not have cell phone reception.
Well, no, it was end of 2019, I think.
Oh, okay.
End of 2019, like for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was not.
And
case.
you didn't roll me up into your luggage and take me with you?
I think you were doing something also end of 2019. You were busy somewhere.
Oh, my aunt died.
Yeah.
Well, so yay.
Now that's a downer for conversation. Great. Let's talk about Sideways.
You brought it up. You're like, you were busy. Thanks. I don't know.
Sideways?
Yeah.
Do you want to play the game again?
I feel like we covered everything.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, like I said, you're very much right about the fact that like it is a character study and it's looking at 3 very different characters.
Yes, and people who are willing to change, forced to change, and doesn't change at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess different points in your life will make you do different things, but blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so we're heading in what direction in California? I'm really bad with geography. Never mind. I mean, we're still in California.
It's wine country, and I can't tell you that I've been to wine country in California.
Okay.
Because I don't drink, so a lot of this movie kind of went over my head.
You didn't want to talk about like the tannins and how angry he is about Merlot?
Yeah, and just like that whole like outburst about like never Merlot, like that. No, it's just.
I just think it is so funny when he goes out about Merlot. Cause
I think if
ridiculous.
you're an elite. Like a wine elite, and like very much about that life. People like this. They're just so excited to open from a certain year. You're like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm throwing a party because I have this bottle to open. Mm-hmm. Okay, no one cares.
Yeah, agreed. Don't get me wrong. I drink wine.
Right.
I have an idea of what wine I like and I don't like.
Yeah.
Don't ask for names of grapes or anything. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is usually it's like a white one that's a little sweet.
Right. That's all you need to know.
These are my descriptions.
You're Thomas Haden Church's character where like, when he's just going on and on about like, yeah, and it's like this and this tar that's now been given to us as wine, and he's like, and he just like says it a couple of times in the movie. He's like, tastes pretty good to me.
Exactly. I remember when I first had wine or whatever, like I bought wine and I was looking for the cheapest thing possible. This is my fault. 20?
Soon as you could.
20 or something.
Okay.
No, when as soon as you could, you don't buy wine as soon as you can. You buy like cheap ass cans of something.
Right.
Yes, no, this is me being more sophisticated. But it was like this, it was like some really crappy cheap wine. And like I know now it's essentially like juice that they add alcohol to. It's not actual wine or anything. That's why it was $6 a bottle. Yes. Fine. But I remember somebody like complaining, they're like, that's crap, right? And I was just like, I don't know, it tastes good.
But between a $6 and a $10 bottle, there isn't that much of a switch up.
No, you can get you can actually get decent bottles of wine that are like actual wine that won't make you go blind or something. For like $10 to $15.
Which always makes me laugh because someone told me that like really a bottle is 2 glasses.
No, if you pour a heavy pour, a proper glass of wine,
then it's 1.
It's 4. You get 4 glasses out of a bottle of wine.
4 glasses.
Yes.
$10. Yeah, not terrible.
That's
cheaper than a bar.
Exactly.
Cheaper than a bar.
But if you're a heavy pourer, yes, you'll definitely get 2.
Yeah.
Or if you don't pour it all, just drink out of the bottle. It's 1 drink. You're fine.
You're good.
You're good.
It's a nice, healthy $10 drink that lasts all evening. Hopefully. Hopefully for you.
Hopefully.
You can't guzzle. I mean, like I said, I've never had a drink, so it's like you can't really, like, you can't chug it.
It depends on the wine and the person.
You can chug wine.
I've seen people do it.
It smells like ferment.
That's what it's supposed to smell like.
Okay.
Because it's fermented.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like fermented things, does your nose not kick in?
Yeah, like I said.
But you're into it then.
Like with anything, it depends on what you're into, your own body type, and how strong / weak the wine is.
This is a whole lot of body shaming on this podcast.
Why is this body shaming? No, I'm not talking about if you're. I'm not talking if you're fat or skinny.
No, I know.
I'm specifically talking about like
this
each
isn't
person's
I'm gonna get you
body.
canceled. I'm gonna clip this and put this on TikTok.
Why are you like this to me? Why are you being mean?
Be like, look at this podcast. You're just openly body shaming people.
Honestly, some of the most alcoholics I've known have been skinny.
Because that's all they're consuming.
Yeah, because that's all they're drinking,
I mean,
and
it's a
that's
nice
where
way to
their
start
calories
breakfast.
come from. And
Easy
you're
break.
just like, you are crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nuts. Like, but like, if a wine is like, for me, I can't drink a quote unquote dry wine. It just means it's just not sweet, and it does just taste, to me, like alcohol, and I'm like, this is disgusting.
Right.
But if you give me like a sweeter wine, I will drink it slightly faster.
You're here for this mess.
Yes, I'm like, here, give me another glass.
More.
You know, like I'm not a big fan of red wines because they're like usually super bitter and that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, no. And like I will nurse one glass of red wine all night. Like it's not a thing. That's
but a white wine or a rosé then? Or
depends on the rosé.
it's called rosé, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's the pink one.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember there was. I'm not gonna shout out this company. I remember what it is, but I'm not going to. But I remember there was a company that they're like, "Oh, this wine is so good, blah blah blah. You should try the rosé." I tried the rosé, and it literally tasted like somebody had like dregs of a white wine bottle and dregs of a red wine bottle, and they just poured it together. It was disgusting. Yeah, and that is not what rosé is, people. That is not what it is. But yes.
Probably how I feel about most alcohol.
And that's fine. That is, you know what? That is absolutely fine because I get made fun of any drink that I drink because I don't actually like the taste of alcohol. But if you make a good drink, it usually just tastes sweet and like juice.
Right.
And I am a sugar junkie and I will drink that, you know? So
we're talking about we're talking about Sideways, not
we're talking about Sideways.
No, sorry if this turned into like a wine tutorial. FYI.
I mean, but half of Sideways is a wine tutorial. What are you talking about?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like it really tells you where they're going.
They tell you about like the types of grapes and how to properly drink a glass of wine with like the what is it? You spin it and then you have to tilt it to
and
see
smell it
the color gradient and see how clear it is, and then you gotta stick your nose in it, and then you take a sip and then you like swish it in your mouth like it's mouthwash.
Which the most disgusting scene happens towards the end where Paul Giamatti just takes that pitcher that everybody's spitting wine out into and just drinks it all.
Yeah,
when he's at his lowest point.
It's disgusting.
I was like, disgusting. Okay, go off, sis.
I mean, you do you, but that is not a thing.
No. So, speaking of character studies,
yes.
Instantly, Paul Giamatti's character opens the movie, and you instantly know that he's a bit of a liar and kind of a loser, like, almost right away.
Yes.
And so then he pulls up to his friend's home, which, when he first drives up to his home, well, at the beginning of the movie, I was like, is he late for work? Like, what's going on? And, you know, because he's like, oh, yeah, I know I said I'd be there by noon, blah, blah, blah. But there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in my building. And then finally, like, they show him, like, just taking his time to get ready after he gets out. He's like, I'm leaving right now.
Yeah.
And ends up at this really rather stately home.
Yep.
And you walk in, and at first you're kind of like, okay, what's the dynamic? Like, how does he know these people who have these weird accents?
Yeah.
And I genuinely thought they were Russian, but they were not. They're Armenian in the movie, which is kind of disclosed in a scene right after. But in the beginning, I was like, I guess they're Russians. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And so then Thomas Haden Church, and they both go along. But you also realize something about their dynamic, that they're both liars and they're both used to covering up each other's lies. Yes, and they've known each other for a while. Yes. Yeah, quite, and there's that comfort level of the lie where they're just like, I'm still gonna say anything. I'm just gonna let you lie to your treat, and just basically make it work. I'll make it work for you. But can I just say, right from the beginning of this movie, I have a real problem with it because there is so much drinking and driving. Like, that opening scene when he gets into the car and he opens a bottle of wine. He's already hungover. They're actually, like,
it's not just being hungover.
Yeah, but
they're actually drinking while driving.
Well, and also because he's parked he's done a horrible job parking from the night before because he's drunk when he was in that car. Mm-hmm. So he's done a crappy job at parking because he was already drunk in the car from the night before, and he's hungover and he's drinking more. Yeah. And he just accepts it. Thomas Hayden Church pours one out for him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll just take the glass," and just continues driving. And I was like, "Oh my!"
But he was also doing a crossword while on the highway while driving. Yeah, on the way there,
and he regularly takes antidepressants and drinks.
Which actually, like, drinking makes antidepressants not work. You're not supposed to drink while.
Well, that's very obvious in the movie.
And, and the thing is, throughout the whole movie, so
this movie precedes Shopgirl. It came out in 2004.
1 year, yeah.
Okay. What were you guys all doing in 2004? Drinking and driving?
I wasn't. I was being
sound off in the comments.
I mean, and then they go to wine country and proceed to go to all of these vineyards, drinking their faces off the whole time, but driving around while they're drinking their faces off. And I'm sitting there going, is this allowed? Like, what?
Right.
This is not allowed. What is going on? You know, it's just so weird to me, like, watching it. And, like, also, like, they're smoking inside of restaurants and stuff. And I was
that going on in 2004?
Apparently.
I don't think so.
Actually, no. Hold on.
I feel like in 2000 here, it went out, like, there was, maybe in 1999?
No. Because I know they started reducing places. I think that's when they started... You know, there was that weird period where they were trying not to actually ban people who smoke from
They had a smoking room.
And they had, like, smoking rooms and stuff. I think that was that period. And then this is right before they started banning it. Because I remember this was my club phase.
Yeah, dude,
and so
same.
I would go out dancing. And I remember coming home and literally changing and having to put my clothes outside. And before I even go to bed, having to, like, wet my hair and all that kind of stuff. Because I would just be reeking of smoke.
Yeah.
And then...
Same. My hair picks up everything.
And somewhere in there is when they canceled it. And I remember the first time going to a club where there wasn't smoke on the inside. You could see the whole club. And it was not pretty.
Yeah.
And then I was just like... I got home the next day. I was like... I'm a little sweaty, but I don't smell like death.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And I didn't have sore throat for, like, 3 days after.
Yeah. From, like, screaming... through that haze, intaking all that smoke and the secondhand smoke from it. Yeah. So it's like, I think in my formative years when I was going out, I mean, I've never smoked a day in my life, but I genuinely sometimes think to myself, I'm like, you know, sometimes when I get a bit of a wheeze when I'm out for a run, I'm like, this is something from a secondhand smoke from when I was too young and not supposed to be inside of a club.
Yes. And that's the thing, right? Like, you think about it, and, like, the amount of secondhand smoke I intake before this was banned.
It's crazy. Wild.
Crazy.
I mean, now everybody there are a bunch of, like, smoke dragons everywhere, but it's fine.
Well, at least... I
guess if you want to kill yourself, at least I don't have to smell like it.
Yeah, but you're outside, do your business, whatever. Yeah. But one thing I've noticed, though, with now, because they're outside, they don't care where they blow the smoke. They will just blow it right in your face. Yeah. They don't even think about it.
It's vapor.
We're outside. We're outside. What are you talking about? It's fine. I'm just like, no, it's not fine. Stop blowing your smoke at me. But one thing about this movie, though, is they were at least polite about it. They're like, is this okay? Yeah. Or, you don't mind, do you? But of course, they were all like, no, it's fine. But... at least they were polite about it. They didn't just, like, light up and start going at it.
So,
we'll give you that.
Time to play our game. Uh-huh. We played just now.
It's all trash. They're all trash.
They're all trash.
They're all
Agreed.
trash.
Agreed. They're all really awful men.
Well, because even before they got to wine country and they stopped by Paul Giamatti's mother's house.
And
because her birthday is the next day. So they bring her some flowers.
Yeah.
And while his friend is distracting her, he goes upstairs, finds her money stash, and steals her money. And I'm just like...
who then subsequently asks him if he wants some money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I know it's...
like, it's somebody who's at the bottom. Like, they're pretty close to rock bottom.
Yeah, but they're too prideful as well. Because we know he's kind of broke. His mother knows he's broke. He's broke, right?
Yeah.
His friend's trying to tell him, he's like, don't worry about it. We'll get through the weekend. Yeah. But he is so prideful. He prefers to steal from his mother than to just ask or say, I'm not going to do all of the things. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah. The whole time.
And it's so gross. Because at first you're just like, oh, it's so sweet. He wants to see his mother because he's going to miss her birthday. And then the first thing you learn is that he hasn't been there for her birthday for years. Is one of the first things you learn. And
then he comes back and just like steals from her and basically is rolling his eyes at her offering up the house for them to like stay over when he clearly doesn't have enough money to start with anyway, and feeds them and like, you know, just like these like really overgrown man babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's sadly a lot of them out there.
Yeah. I would definitely say like one of the things is that obviously as the movie goes along, Thomas Haden Church's character is just like, I mean, they're both pretty awful, but one is just like completely not inclined with any sense of moral code or decency. Yeah. And just like, you know, it's just like he says, I think they get to the motel and he's like, listen, I'm just going to tell you that I'm just, you know, making sure, I want to make sure that I finally get to have sex with somebody who is not my wife before I get married, like later this week. And like, that's his one agenda that he goes out with. Yeah. And he's like fully delusional and acts his way through hooking up with Sandra Oh and being nice to her daughter, and which I'm sure that he probably does have that delusion and believes it, and just kind of goes through it with such a flourish that in the moments where you see him with Sandra Oh's daughter, like,
as soon as the daughter got involved, I was just like, you're a bad person.
Yeah, but he's very, like, he's having fun with her. He's kind to her. But it just, like, very much adopts this role. And it just goes to show that somebody who doesn't, he's not really well connected to himself. Because he can fall into any role. Whatever role you want him to be.
He knows how to play it. Because he's an actor.
Yeah.
Like, you find out he's an actor. And he just plays whatever role he's given.
Yeah.
And he just goes along with it. And as soon as he's out of that position, he snaps out of it. Because as soon as he snaps out of it, They leave, and like they were having a good night with the daughter. They had blah blah blah. They walk out together, and to Paul Giamatti, he's just like, "Oh, she's so fucking dirty," and blah 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 blah.
And he's just again, what? Only using her as an object.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then he starts saying like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't get married because you know the sex is different." You're just like, of course she's a different person. Of course the sex is going to be different.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean you leave this person that apparently you're in love with and wanted to marry.
Yeah. And he's acting his way through whatever it is that he needs. Yes. Whatever it is that he needs, he can act towards it and get it out of whatever that situation is. Mm-hmm. Which goes to show that he'll do whatever. There's no hard line with him.
Well, even when Sandra Oh finds out about the fact that he's getting married.
Oh, and beats him. Oh my God. The happiest moment.
I'm sorry. He deserves all of it.
Happiest moment of that. And it's such a good beatdown. It is the most, like, genuinely, and I think she did Grey's Anatomy right after, the following year. Mm-hmm. And maybe a year and a half after it came out.
During.
No, I think Grey's Anatomy started about 25 years ago. So it makes sense that it came out around that time.
Yeah, but 25 years ago was 2000.
Yeah, she was on it for a good 10, 15 years.
Grey's Anatomy is 2005. So yeah, it was the next year.
Yeah, it was right after, because I remember that when Grey's Anatomy started, she has a similar arc. She shows up in the very first episode on a bike in a leather jacket.
So, oh my God, she's the same person.
It's literally, and I think at some point they kind of started to write her a bit differently. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, because they were like, okay, fine, okay, like Meredith's character is going to be the pretty girl, and then Sandra Oh's character is going to be the smart one. You know what I mean?
She's like the best friend.
Yeah, but she's like the smart, and it's very much like made obvious to you that they're both intelligent, but one is absolutely undeniably intelligent and like is a bit more talented than the main character. In the beginning, that was the beginning of the show.
No, but I think throughout her arc on Grey's Anatomy, you know Christine is smarter than Grey.
Yeah.
And then
and she's just more capable than her.
And she's also willing to give up everything to learn and to be the best. Yeah. That's what she
doesn't care
to do, and she doesn't care.
Exactly.
Because like, isn't there even like a storyline where she like gives up her boyfriend?
Yeah.
Because she's like just like because some other girl's in love with him. She's like, take him. I just want to learn.
Yeah. I don't really care about any of this. And like the boyfriend
hears it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like. But even in this movie...
Yeah. Her breakout... I think it's her breakout role. Because I think she had been acting... Because she had... I know her from another Toronto movie that she had done. Because she's from Canada. Mm-hmm. And so she had done this Toronto movie where she's playing this girl who's kind of grappling with growing up as part of like an Asian household, but having to be
in Canada.
I
know
North
that
American.
movie. Yeah,
and superb actor, but I think this is what like really got her into like LA. Like it was like that thing for her where she was like, okay, I can go to LA now, audition for movies, because she'd done a lot of indie movies.
Yeah, because this movie was like nominated for several Oscars.
Yeah, and I think one adapted screenplay, if I'm not wrong.
So it was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director.
Yeah.
Actually,
I don't know if it's the Best Director.
I don't think it actually won, because this doesn't say it won any. But it won 2 Golden Globes, including Best Picture for musical or comedy.
Oh, there you go. Which it is. It is through and through a comedy.
It is. It is funny. Like, this is funny.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, with Shopgirl, there are funny moments, but it's not a funny movie. Whereas this is funny, has dramatic moments.
I would say, like, Shopgirl is more awkward than funny.
It is very awkward. Like, there are parts where, like, I was literally just squeamish.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
And Virginia Madsen is in it, and they're all, like, it's the cast that really makes the script, because the script can arrive really fast, because they're not, like, particularly... Like, you know, I think, like, when there's 2 characters in the movie...
She's in the Mr. Bean movie.
Yeah.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
She's been around for a long time.
Because I was like, here's where Sideways is on her filmography. And it just kept going.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Yes. She's
When was the first movie she did?
If she did a short in 1989.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Crazy.
She's been around a long time.
And I think she's really... Double Happiness is the name of that movie, by the way, that I was mentioning earlier.
That is not the movie I was thinking of.
Yeah. She even played, like, something along this line where she plays, like, a fake fortune teller who, like, people can call into.
Oh, is that the...
That's another one that she does, I think. These movies are hard to find, by the way, on streaming. They're hard to, like, find copies of.
Long Life, Happiness, and Prosperity? Is it that one? No, it's not that one.
No, I think... But she did a lot of these kinds of roles until she did Sideways. And then Sideways, she's the... Which I was really happy that they casted her as the hot girl.
She's a hot girl.
Because I think, unfortunately, for Sandra Oh, like... As talented as she is, she's not constantly shown in that light all the time, which I think is really crazy, because it can be a bit more, and especially at that time, I think it must have been harder, because, like, if you're a minority in movies, then people are always like, well, you be the smart one. But in this, she really is that, like, kind of, she's a, you know, she rides a bike, she's in rock and roll, she doesn't, like, she's a young mother, but, like... She
also knows her wine.
Yeah, she knows her wine, like, she's intelligent, but she's sexy, and I think, like, it's a great role for her, because it was far removed from what she was doing up until that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in Killing Eve, she does a little bit of that when she meets Eve. Like, after that, she kind of, like, starts to dress better. Because until that point, she's kind of like she's
dour.
She's a bit dour for somebody who works for MI6. Yeah.
Yeah, but was she like an analyst or something?
No, I think she's like an analyst turned field agent.
Okay. Yeah, so analyst.
Yeah. But, like, she's, like, very much... And then when she meets Eve, she's like, why do you dress like this? Which I think is hilarious for the villain of a show to be like, can you just dress better if you're going to try and kill me? You know? And then, of course, she comes home and starts to go through that process of, like, seeing, like, oh, like, Eve is much more self-actualized than her character. And so then... Like, when they meet each other again in the subsequent seasons, the vibe is very different. And that's when Eve starts to be like, oh, okay. You're kind of hot.
Yeah. No, I watched like 2 episodes of that show, like the beginning, and I was like, I don't care. Yeah. And I just stopped watching it.
It's written really well. If you're wanting to watch a show that isn't formulaic in terms of how, like, shows with, you know, women are written, then that's a good show to watch.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah. It takes a moment to get into it, but there's not that many episodes anyway, because it's a BBC show. So notoriously has, like...
They're notoriously short seasons.
Yeah, which I love.
But it was just one of those things where I was like, I know everybody really likes it. I did give it a shot. It did not grab me. I'm gonna not do this. I don't know. I got lots of sass from people who were just like... What do you mean? This thing's great. I'm like, I did not get into it. They're like, you're just trying to be difficult.
You can't be into everything.
I know. So there's 32 episodes. So it's not crazy long.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
And over 4 seasons. So I think it's 8 episodes each.
Is that it? Is
it
4 seasons?
I think it's only 4 seasons.
Yeah. 2018 to 2022.
Yeah. Pretty recent, actually, as far as her work goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, she's doing... Oh, yeah, that's right. She's doing the voice in Invincible.
I'm always happy to see her, though.
I
think even in this movie, I think when she shows up, I was like, oh, cool. She's in this movie.
Because I think she's very, like...
She's able to embody a role.
Yeah. You know? It's like you see her, you're just like, cool. A, it's a different phase. It's not just like a bunch of white people. Yeah. A. And B, you're just like... You're not a stereotype. Yeah. And C, you're just like, I just like you. Like she just comes across so likable that the betrayal is
that much worse. More.
You know, that much more, like, how can you be mean to this woman? Like, how can you take advantage of somebody who's this nice?
And it's very telling that like the most talented, gorgeous person can sometimes be taken for granted by somebody who's not even like half their level.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. But I mean, they say...
I mean, even Virginia Madsen's character for Paul Giamatti, she's like a catalyst for him, but when she writes him a note, like, it's very much like the movie, the problem that I had with the movie is that the women are very much like there to like somehow guide or change the men's lives. Like, he's derailed because a woman's left him, and he comes back on like, well, the movie ends on a positive note, kind of, that, you know, he can find his inner strength through some woman saying like, oh, you can do it. Like, it's very much like they're both man babies.
But that has been a thing in film
forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where they're like, no, it's love that takes them forward. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. It's not, there is an idea of love there, but it's about a man has a personality and a woman either has to get in his way or show him the way, but they're really not that important. No. Right?
And like I said, in the movie, the real relationship that's explored is the friendship that Paul Giamatti and Thomas Haden share. Yeah, the relationship that they have, and the women are just kind of like satellites.
They're catalysts for events to have them explore their relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And they're not, and like I said, these are not men that are redeemable to me.
I mean, the thing is, I think Paul, like with Jason Schwartzman, Paul Giamatti's character is redeemable. Right? Because, yes, he's up on his high horse. Yes, he's in a bad place. But by the end of the movie, he's like, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. Right? So he knows he wants to be better. Yeah. Okay? So at that point in time, because he's made that revelation, I'm like, you're at least redeemable. Yeah. Whereas Hayden Christensen Church's character, he's not sorry. Even when he's just like, chick broke my nose, I'm going to pretend this is a car accident, and then destroys his friend's car so he can get away with his lie. Mm-hmm. Right? He's not sorry he slept with her.
He ends up marrying his stupid wife.
He's not going to apologize to his wife or tell his wife.
Who he's lied to throughout the movie.
The whole movie. He has not apologized to Paul Giamatti. He doesn't say, I'm sorry I did this. He says, I'll pay for the damage. Right. That's not being sorry. That is you still wanting to keep your lie out. Yeah. So his character does not change at all. From beginning to end, he does not change at all. No. Paul Giamatti's character, however, fractionally gets better. But by the end of the movie, you can see that he's made a decision to not be this person. And you're just like, cool. Right. You're redeemable. Right? He's not redeemed. No. Don't get me wrong. He's redeemable.
Yeah, because we don't actually know anything about the fact that does he better himself? Maybe.
Who knows?
He's just like daydreaming towards the end in his class.
Yeah, but then the last scene is him knocking on the door of that girl's house.
Yeah,
but
so it's hopeful.
It's hopeful, but there is a chance that she's just like, look, I read your book. I just wanted to let you know. Yeah. But no, I'm not interested in dating you. Will that put him back in a spiral? Who knows?
Yeah, the women have a better moral code than both the men in the movie.
Oh, yeah, because they're good friends to each other. Like, she found out this information, and she told her friend.
And she cuts him off, too.
And she cuts him off immediately. Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not going to put up with this.
I'm not doing this. This is not picking sides. This is, you did something wrong. I'm going to leave. Yeah.
And it's not appropriate. And she even says to him, she's like, I spent so much time, like, kind of unraveling a relationship that was just built on, like, deceit.
Yeah. And then you showed up and you just deceived her again.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not here for this. I'm not here. And I think the thing is too, is that I think she was talking about her ex-husband and she was just like, I got smarter. So I realized that he didn't have anything. He wasn't giving me anything. We weren't doing anything together. And so I left. I had to get out because I was trapped somewhere I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And so that's what she did. And then you have her, when she finds out he's been lying to her, he's like, you're the same thing. I do not want to be trapped again. This is not, that's not a position I want to be in again. And when, he knocks on the door at the end, I mean, there's a good chance he's going to reject her, but there's also a chance she'll be like, okay, I read your book. I think I understand you better. Yeah. Maybe we can have a little chat.
Yeah, and there's obviously he doesn't really talk about it. Like he obviously has had some trauma where he's been taking care of a sick parent and then had the divorce. So there is it's not that he doesn't have events leading up to this kind of bottom that he's hitting, but while he's in the bottom, he's just kind of going on with whatever.
He's wallowing.
Yeah, and he's letting somebody who, he even says, he's like, listen, he's just my college roommate. Yeah. He's not even a friend. And I think in that moment, it just kind of says everything that about their dynamic that is true to them is the fact that he's just known this person the longest. But in fact, this person has no significance to him.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those it's actually was a freshman college roommate, right, is what it was. And I think what it was is that he just looked up to him this whole time. Yeah. And was like, oh, he's having so much fun and he does whatever he wants. And he's getting all the chicks and he's doing all the this. Yeah. And he's like, I want to be like that. I want to, if I follow along with him, blah, blah, blah. But all he's been doing this whole time is covering up his lies. Yeah. And,
it weirdly reminded me of this person that we both knew. Who, I don't think either of us talk to him anymore. Okay. But I think you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to say the name because it's whatever. But funnily enough, I feel like you entertained this kind of dynamic with him for so long. Because I think you guys were had common interests movies wise. Yeah. But he was just this very toxic person.
Yes.
And just did and said toxic things all the time. And it was just like, what? I remember us having a conversation and I was like, why do you keep interacting with him? What is going on? And I remember when you moved, I was like, no, this is it. You moved far away now into the city and that's it. You're just going to just fall off the face of the planet.
Yeah. And I think I told you when you asked me, I was like, oh, he's around and I need someone to go to movies with. Yeah. That's what I told you.
At the time, exactly. But I think that's what I mean. It was entertaining this dynamic, this kind of foolishness where I was like, just go to the movies by yourself. It's fine. You know what I mean? But he really was a terrible person because he too was in whatever throes of his own bottom. And I think from the beginning of when we knew him versus towards the end, they were completely different people.
Yes.
Because in the beginning he was fine.
Yes.
But I think as time went on, he just got worse and worse of whatever was going on in his home that we knew about. And so a lot of times I was like, yeah, this person is terrible.
Yes.
Because you just tell me oh, this happened or whatever. And I was like, how dare he? So it just kind of reminded me of this. And again, like I said, there was that awkwardness of watching this happen on screen. Because you're just like, oh, these people are triggering me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, I got the same thing in the movies. I was just like, I don't like what's happening here.
Yeah. Or just even watching it sometimes can be such a chore. Because you're just kind of this is a terrible person. I know these people too well. I wish to have an existence where I don't know people like this.
Yeah. Too late. You've already met them. I will say watching these movies was not a chore. Yeah. I actually enjoyed it.
The way it's lensed is not. I feel it's beautiful, to watch. And it feels like I said earlier at the beginning that, it's very much this gonzo style of filming. It doesn't feel like there was a whole, bunch of oh, but this is how we're gonna stage the scene, this is how we're gonna map it out, this is how there's no vibe that's like that except for all the shots that are done inside of buildings. All the exteriors just feel they're okay, get in a car and drive.
Yeah. And they're we'll angle a camera out the window, just go,
it's go. Fine. Yeah. Very much.
I but the thing is too, we're talking about all the actors in this movie, But at the time this came out, none of them were like famous.
No.
None of them were. Even like Paul Giamatti and stuff.
He had done stuff, but like I don't think anything had really brought him, like nothing had brought him to the Oscars.
Yeah. Well, even just though I think the last episode I had was Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
And he showed up and then I was shocked. I was like, what?
He did a lot of those character kind of roles, but nothing that was like, he was the guy that everybody went for historic characters.
But he was one of that guys. Like, he just showed up places. You're just like, I don't know what that guy's name is, but he was in that other movie and he did that other thing.
There he is.
Yeah. And then, more recently, he's turned into, oh, I know who that is. That guy is Paul Giamatti. He has like a name.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think
he does have a face that's it's so easy to hate him.
Yeah, because he's really good at playing assholes.
Yeah.
He's really
hello,
good.
he plays an asshole in Billions.
I didn't watch Billions.
Another show where he tends to.
I'm going to say this. All of these shows out about mean rich white people or bored rich white people or rich white people on vacation, I didn't watch any of them.
And yet here we are talking about Sideways. Okay.
But that's the thing. They're not rich.
No.
They're just poor white people who are really into an expensive hobby.
Yeah. Which I was like, this is not all that affordable.
No. I mean, Hayden Christian Church, he was an actor. He's really living off of residuals, but he's an actor. He's got some money and he's definitely marrying somebody rich. Yeah. So
can someone please tell me that a lot of the times the visual of this movie has the four of them on a picnic mat? When did that happen in the movie?
I'm thinking.
This is one of those scenes where I was like, I feel like something was used for a poster, and then it never made it into a movie because they never.
No, there is one scene when they're doing like a montage of their day together, and there is a scene where they're like in the distance, like laughing on a thing.
Oh, so then I missed it.
It's literally like half a second.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't like. Where is this coming from? Is this on your DVD cover? Oh my God! Speaking of DVD cover, so Tracy has a DVD cover of this because obviously she collects movies, and that's what this whole project is about. But funnily enough, one of the funniest things, along with dialing home phones from Shopgirl, is they all go shopping in a Best Buy or an HMV. Or I think it's a Best Buy though. Yeah. For CDs.
Yeah.
And they're changing CDs in a CD player.
Yeah, and the Best Buy has a huge section. It's like all of this.
It's rows and rows of it behind them.
Yeah, don't you remember those days?
It's what I can't even. I remember the HMV that used to be where we used to work.
Yeah,
I love that HMV.
Loved HMV.
That particular HMV was so nice because it was always kind of empty. Mm-hmm. And I loved it.
Yeah. Because you walked in there was not like 800 people standing around. Yeah. You didn't have to be like, excuse me, can I look at
it? It wasn't like the one on Queen Street.
No.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
My God.
It was such a nice one. And it was always ice cold in there because, the CDs have to be fresh.
Yeah.
So I loved, oh my God, with the number of times we used to go there.
Yeah, all the time. I applied for a job there like 20 times. Because I was like, no, this is where I need to be. I want to hang around movies and music and get really good discounts on movies and music. And then I never got hired because I wasn't cool enough or something.
Which is wild because, there was one point though, like where HMV was the thing.
Yes. Yeah. That, and we had like Sam the Record Man.
Yeah. And we go out on Tuesdays because it was release days.
Release day where all the new stuff. And then you guys would make fun of me because Wednesdays was new comic book day and you'd be like, have fun with that. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Crazy though. It was crazy. They're shopping for CDs.
Yeah. But I think that's coming back because people are just getting mad with streaming and digital and things aren't really.
Well, everything is just a more expensive cable TV channel.
Yeah, but also stuff is getting harder to find. Things are disappearing, and you're just like, but where's the thing? They're like, oh, we don't provide that anymore. But I want to watch the thing.
And where does it go then? Like that's what I mean. It having something a hard copy. Yeah, a hard copy of something is really great. Like the fact that you have an extensive collection is so cool because you're not at the mercy of anyone. Yeah. If you think of a movie, you can go into your collection, pull it out, play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love doing that because sometimes people are just like, oh my God, I could never find this movie. I'm just like, you mean this one?
Yeah.
It's great.
And some of the movies, like I said, that have been on your podcast, I'm surprised you own copies of those.
Yeah.
So,
well, the problem is, like, the thing is, too, with some of the movies, they're kind of obscure because they were in, like, 2 for $10 or 2 for $20 bins, right? And I was like, oh, I've been looking for this. It's cheap now. I'm gonna buy it and watch it and blah, blah, blah. And then some of it was just like, no, these are things, like, I really want.
right.
So I just go out and buy them, right? But, like, DVDs and stuff have never been cheap, per se. But definitely when they had 2 for $1 bins, I was all over it.
And sometimes you really did find interesting things in those bins.
Yes.
I remember because you used to make me root around. You're like, this is what I'm looking for. Go look in this one and I'll look in this one.
Yes.
So I remember us doing that together. And it was really a fun time because a lot of times I got to know about movies that I'm not a movie buff by, especially the fact that I'm back for a second episode is kind of surprising because I really don't talk about movies in any kind of intellectualized way.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because a lot of the times when I'm listening to the podcast, one of the best parts is that coming across movies where it's like, I don't know anything about this movie. I'm gonna find it and play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're right. It's very hard to find.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find certain movies. You're
there
just kind of like,
are movies where you're just like, well, where can I? Because even like I have people on and I'm just like, oh, we're watching these movies. They're like, well, where do you know? I like in my emails, I put like where you can find them usually.
right.
And I think for these ones, you couldn't find them. They weren't streaming anywhere.
No.
And I'm happy you were able to find it. But like,
I know somebody else in my life.
Nice.
Yeah, who is just the male version of you. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just it's a lot easier. It's just like, hey, do you have this? Actually, I do.
Yeah, and that's it. You just go with it. But yeah, like sometimes people like they'll like I'll have to watch the movies early so I can lend it to them, or they have to like you find somebody else who has it. Sometimes they go to libraries and all this. They have to do like research.
Libraries, remember those?
The they exist. Still.
No, they do. Thankfully, honestly, I'm very thankful for
that.
That
is something that needs to stay. But like they have to do work in finding the movie because they're just not available places. Even if they're popular movies or movies that are well known, sometimes they're just not available places. And you're just like, why? Why is this not available for me to look at? It should be.
Exactly. And a lot of times I think not having access to it is the worst.
Yeah, not having access is so annoying.
Yeah,
so annoying.
Because it just goes to show that like it's so easy. Like one of the biggest dangers of streaming, I think, is the fact that like someone can just delete it. Like it can be deemed as this is not okay. We're going to delete it.
And that's what's been happening.
Yeah,
they've like
and the fact that somebody suggested digital libraries. Get out of here. Yeah. Get out of here with your digital libraries.
Nonsense. Because that's the exact same thing that's going to happen. Somebody's just going to delete something, and you're just like, why is this not here?
Yeah, or one day it's considered to be like this is not acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Or like I mean, like I understand putting disclaimers in front of things that people think are inappropriate and all that kind of stuff. I think
art is all about choice.
Yeah,
you can choose to see it or you can choose not to see it.
Exactly,
that's your choice.
That's why the disclaimer is there. But just getting rid of it because you don't agree with it is kind of not acceptable. Because, I mean, there's lots of content out there I don't agree with and I don't like. That doesn't mean I'm going to get rid of it or tell people they should get rid of it. Will I watch it? Will I partake in it? No, I will not. It is not something I need in my life. But if somebody else wants that in their life, have it in your life.
Yeah.
You know.
That's okay. Like, and I think that's the beauty of being in a world where like art can be democratized is that fact that you can choose what you want. And also,
sorry, I need a small caveat. This is as long as the art was created without harming or infringing someone.
Yeah.
I'm not talking.
We're not talking about Chloe Sevigny.
No, we're not talking about things where people were beaten.
Yeah.
Or something weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Weird. You know me. I've talked about weird shows.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We're not talking about Fellini movies.
Yes, we're not talking about that kind of thing. So that kind of thing. We're not talking about like violence against people or people being there against their will or something. We're not talking about that. We're talking about art created for art's sake.
Yeah.
Or storytelling or whatever.
Fully fledged, rightful arts of expression.
Yes.
I think are supposed to be in the public sphere. And it really helps everybody kind of think about things differently.
Yeah.
When you're forced to kind of look at a homogenous, work of art, it's very difficult because a lot of the times you're expected to have similar opinions, similar viewpoints, and those are the ones that are acceptable, and those are the ones that are okay.
Yeah, and this is the problem with the quote unquote algorithm these days, where people only get access to things that agrees with their view, and they don't get access to things that maybe counter them or maybe give them a better education on something or whatever.
So you start living in like
in this, and then people get mad when they see something that goes against what, or not even goes against, but maybe contradicts or is not the same, or just a different view of something that you see. And then they get so angry about it because they're like, well, how dare you try to change my mind, or how dare you see something differently? And you're just like, but why not? And the fact that they're getting rid of things that contradict or go against or are viewed differently means that they want everybody to think exactly the same way. And that's not how art works.
The thing is too about the human brain is that when you're exposed to something that is very much outside of your comfort zone, initially you'll have a very sort of acerbic reaction to it. But chances are that as time goes on and you're around it more and you're able to take it in fully, it starts to change for you. Your the way you see, the way you view it, the way you accept it, it starts to change. You're not seeing it the same anymore. So a lot of the times I think like the danger of living in this kind of well of the same opinions and this wind tunnel of like just having your opinions kind of broadcast back to you is the fact that you are not having a reaction to something that's contrary to your viewpoint in an organic manner. You're not reacting to it in a way that is your actual reaction. It's more your, that kind of, what's the word? Like, it's kind of, you're almost having a knee-jerk reaction to something.
Yes.
But the more you settle and you look at it again, the more you'll be able to find that while it may not become acceptable to you, you might be like, yeah, but I see why it exists.
But also, I know we've created a society where people have a platform to say things, but also you can also just walk away from said platform.
You can turn us off.
You can
right now.
Don't
do that.
No, but like,
sound off in the comments.
God. But the fact that there's so many people out there thinking that they have to push their opinion on other people.
But this is what I'm saying.
And that's the knee-jerk reaction. It's like people see something and like they're on and they start writing. And you're just like...
That's how people are able to perpetuate like xenophobia and homophobia. Like all these things exist because of and racism. All of these things exist because of this exact phenomenon of like just kind of having this one set of viewpoints and having the same thing broadcast to you all day, every day. You're getting brainwashed.
Yeah.
So buyer beware.
Yes. Oh, the internet.
Yeah.
But I'm brainwashing you into watching movies. Oh.
I mean, I will say they are triggering movies for me. So mostly because it's like the men are just very like
they're horrible people.
They're just horrible in both movies.
Yeah.
And I was like, not a one redemptive guy in a lot of them.
I mean, I have a soft spot for Jason Schwartzman in general. Like everything that
just because he's young and beautiful in this one.
No, it's not. No, it's not just that.
He's pretty in this one. He's the only movie that I could do. I was like, oh, he's kind of pretty in this one. Okay.
Really?
When he comes back and he's wearing that velvet jacket and his hair is slicked back, he's kind of cute in that moment. They go out for their second date, back to the same place, and he's wearing some little t-shirt with a velvet jacket. He's kind of cute. Like, he's cute in that moment.
I've never thought about him that way. I just have a soft spot for him.
I know. I know somebody...
Like him and Elijah Wood, I have soft spots for them. It just... I'm reminded of this because...
I can't think of one Elijah Wood project outside of Lord of the Rings. I know he's been in a few.
Sin City, Radio Flyer, Back to the Future Part 2.
There you go.
There's a few of them.
There you go.
But I don't know.
Alexa, tell me what Elijah Wood has been in.
Oh, Come to Daddy, really good movie. It is not what you think.
This is
so good.
This is exactly why you're gonna put Alexa out of business.
Why? Because I could just
rattle this stuff up. You're gonna be useless Alexa, but it's gonna be like, useless Alexa, tell me what Elijah Wood has been in. Elijah Wood has been in the following projects.
What is it?
You can't say what is it if you're Alexa. You have to just start sounding it off.
Wilfred's really good. The TV show. I love it. I do. I even like with Jason Schwartzman, like shows like Bored to Death and stuff. Fucking love it.
See?
Just
there you
so
go.
Good. But yeah, they're very much into just interesting, weird films where they get to play these like not always oddball, because sometimes they get to play the straight man in like a weird space, but a lot of the time they get to play the weird person in a straight space, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I love how weird they are.
Yeah, especially him. Like
entertaining.
I was saying, Schwartzman's character is really the way I would describe it is like the guy who plays a weirdo. You know?
I mean, well, he was in like
he's like a better Ben Stiller.
No,
he's able to play weird. Like that's his niche.
Ben Stiller never played weird.
Didn't he play weird in like what's that movie where like they're all siblings, Gwyneth Paltrow and everybody, and then he's a bit weird in that, but he's like recovering from his wife's death. He's not really weird in that.
What movie is this?
Oh my god, I forget the name of the director. He's really known. He just does these like very like 60s-esque Hotel Darjeeling and all these kind of movies.
Oh, no.
No, those are two different movies, are they not? Darjeeling Limited and
are you talking about Wes Anderson?
There we go. Ben Stiller is a weird guy in that movie, no?
In what movie?
Oh my lord, it's with Gwyneth Paltrow, Owen Wilson.
Oh you're talking about the way you described this movie.
It's terrible. Is
so bad.
I told you I'm not supposed to be on 2 episodes of this season.
It's actually one of my favorite movies. It's The Royal Tenenbaums.
There we go.
And he does not play a weird guy.
You know the worst part is?
He actually plays the straight guy.
Was I on an episode of Royal Tenenbaums?
It was the same one that we did Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, I think that's the episode you were on.
This is terrible.
That's really sad.
That's very terrible. I'm not supposed to be on. I'm going to be leaving just now. So thanks so much for having me and for listening, and sound off in the comments if you don't want me back.
Everybody's like, get her away. No, but in that movie, he actually plays the straight man.
Yeah.
With surrounded by a bunch of eccentric characters.
Right.
He rarely plays a weirdo. The closest thing to him playing a weirdo is like him in Mystery Men or Zoolander. Like that's as weird as it gets.
Right, Mystery Man, the other episode that I was on.
Yeah. So you're here for Ben Stiller all the time. But like he often plays the straight man in like Reality Bites, even Meet the Fockers. Like he is the straight man put into this meeting these odd parents
because he does that really well.
Yeah,
he
does that really
he's just
well.
so exasperated.
Yeah. So it's not he does not play the weird guy. Whereas Jason Schwartzman and Elijah Wood, they're just like I'm gonna be fucking weird. Yeah. Let's do this. Let's get excited.
I think it's because Elijah Wood's got crazy eyes.
He does. He does have crazy eyes in like the best way.
And like front gap in his teeth.
Yeah.
There's something. The two things go really well together.
The funny thing is his face, because you know how like when people get older, their jaw chisels and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
His face is exactly the same. And I think that's what makes him so weird looking. He has a child's face almost. And you're just like,
yeah,
you're odd. Your head's just bigger.
Very, very odd. So what have you, speaking of art and weirdos, what has been your summer slate of movies that you've been watching?
Only summer?
Well, I'm going to say summer since we're recording in summer.
Well, I'm going to see the Deadpool movie, of course, on Tuesday.
Okay.
It has been a hard work.
Do you remember Toonie Tuesdays?
Yeah, those don't exist anymore.
I know.
They're all live.
They're all gone.
You used to get like KFC for $2 and a slice of pizza for $2. You go see a movie for $2.
Well, that's so nice.
It was great. You get a $10 bill. You get some ice cream. You
could afford it as somebody who was in school.
Entertainment.
Yeah, you could be a poor student and go to the movies. You can't be a poor student and go to the movies anymore. If you have money to go to the movies, you might as well go buy yourself something that you need for school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't afford that either. You got to still lay away for it.
I was recently at the theaters and I happened to walk in on a day where they had some deal going on, and I watched a $10 movie, $9.99.
What? What day was this?
$9.99. I watched day one, which is like the Quiet Place.
Oh,
prequel.
I watched that too.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
I will say this: I had not watched any of the other movies, and since this is a prequel, I didn't technically have to know anything, except I was really confused while Jaimin Hunsu was there for like 2 scenes.
Jaimin Hunsu has been on record and said that he finds it incredibly hard to get work, even though he's been in absolute A-list movies. Yeah,
but apparently he's a bigger part in the later movies. That's why his face shows up in this movie.
Sure,
that's what I've been told.
I watched the other ones.
I have not watched. Apparently he's like the leader of some.
I'm really gonna have to jog my memory about the second one of The Quiet Places.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love the Quiet Place franchise. I think it's the perfect creature feature. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
This is the first one I watched. So
you will not be disappointed if you watch the first one.
All right. What else?
So yeah, sorry. Before we got off on the movie thing. So you're gonna watch a Deadpool movie, but what have you watched so far for the summer?
Yeah, so I watched that one. I watched, of course, Furiosa.
Yeah.
TV wise, I did just finish My Adventures with Superman. Fucking love that show. More people should watch it.
Superman better than Furiosa. Furiosa, they got Furiosa.
It's a TV show,
right?
That's just really good, and you just really like the characters.
I only watch Furiosa for that line.
Really?
They got Furiosa.
It's right at the beginning.
I know.
It's just 3 seconds.
It's just hilarious, that child screaming.
Actually, the thing that confused me about the movie is that the end of the movie ends with Anna Taylor-Joy, but it's like the day before Mad Max Fury Road starts. And I was just like, wait, what? Shouldn't there at least be like 5-year gap or something? Or something in between there? So it's not... And that's why in the credits, they play all of the big parts of Mad Max during the credits. And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. I was like, that's...
And she rapidly changed.
Also, I feel like I should have said spoiler alert before I said that, but...
Who cares?
It's only been out a short time.
Cancel us. Go off. No. Go off in the comments.
No. Oh my god. I've actually been seeing a lot of movies and I'm like sitting here trying to think.
At the theaters or on TV?
At the theater.
Okay. So you said Furiosa. You said... day one, which is the Quiet Place franchise. Then you said you're gonna watch Deadpool.
Yes.
Long Legs. Did you watch it?
No. Someone asked me, and I was just like, no.
Too intense.
That's way too intense for me. I'm not.
I saw it. I'm
doing that.
Absolutely gobsmacked by that movie. Okay, not because what I liked about it is that similar to Shopgirl, doesn't explain as much as you think it should explain. Mm-hmm. So, but in a horror movie, you finish watching a movie that doesn't explain a lot and you're going like, you're thinking about things the next day and you're like, I wonder, is it because of that? And it wild. The soundtrack is, not the soundtrack, but like the background score is so crazy. Yeah. Because a lot of it is done to kind of make you think that you too are going through what the character is going through. Yeah, you're making me want to watch it even less. No, I was gonna get added to my to watch list because you know me in horror. I don't do horror well, but I don't think it's gonna get added to that list. If ever you want to watch it together, I will absolutely come with, or we can watch it on streaming whenever it comes up, which I think it will come out in a
relatively
while.
Soon. I did watch Nick Cage. Talking about Nick Cage, I did watch Dream Scenario in the theaters.
What's that?
I cannot explain that movie to you in a way that will not.
And it's Nicolas Cage movie?
It's a Nick Cage movie.
Dream Scenario.
Yeah. It came out.
I think I saw the trailer.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you what I saw in the trailer. That makes sense.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So I have to. Okay. So
watch that. It's really good.
Okay. Dream Scenario.
It is really good.
Okay.
But also you were talking about these movies make you uncomfortable. He plays an actively uncomfortable individual.
Oh.
So it just makes you.
So Long Legs Part 1.
You're just like.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah. I'm so happy for him coming out and kind of doing these kind of prolific roles. Like
but he goes back and forth though. Like he puts out like 50 movies a year. It's weird.
Well, he got to pay that tax bill.
Exactly.
But you know what the funny part is? Lately, the slate of movies that I watched, Arcadian. Mm-hmm. Another great creature feature. If ever you get the time, it's already on stream. Yeah, it's on streaming, I think, already. That's how I watched it.
Yeah.
But worth your time. Good creature feature. And
I'd watch that.
Weird creature feature. Like, doesn't really focus on the creature so much, which is the part that makes it creepy.
Okay.
But great role. Mm-hmm. Not really like I'm being the out there Nicolas Cage role, but like he's able to show that he's able to go small and big.
Yeah. That's like, so on TV, this is a movie from a few years ago, but I did get around to watching his movie Pig.
Oh, love that movie.
Great movie.
Sad.
It's sad, it's melancholy, but he goes from small to big, and it's weird, and it's just really intense.
Yeah. And not what you think the movie's going to be about, by the way.
No, not at all. I also watched, this is not a Nick Cage movie, on streaming, Boy Kills World.
I was so interested because of the voiceover from the guy from
John H. Benjamin.
Yeah, Archer.
H. John Benjamin. Sorry, I was very confused when I heard his voice. I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah. But no,
I did. It fell flat.
Are you gonna go see The Crow? I think is it called The Crow? No,
that looks horrible.
He looks hot.
No, he doesn't. He looks dirty. He just looks dirty.
Dirty can be hot.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just kidding.
Like, I like him as an actor. I think he's really good when he gets a good role. Mm-hmm. That movie just looks really bad, and how they did Boy Kills World, it just kind of sort of fell apart. What else have I watched? I watched, no, seriously. Well, you know me. I take in a lot of content.
Yeah. You're like one of the people that I would always want to ask this. I think every episode you should be asked what is the last thing you watched that you would recommend, because you always have something interesting that you've been watching. Like I said, Dream Scenario, not a movie that I really heard of, but I remember watching a trailer for this a while back and being like, that would be interesting to see when it comes out, and then I had no idea that it had come out.
I feel like it's turning into what we used to call a cult classic, which kind of doesn't exist anymore, because when movies don't make money, they just disappear. But that one is turning into a bit of a cult classic, because I find people are slowly finding it, right? And they're like, it's hard to describe what it is, but at the same time you're like, but it's really good. But you have to watch it to understand it.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. So
those are, you said you watch more.
Yeah, I'm just, my brain is just not...
Is mush.
It's okay. Is mush at this point.
What's the movie of the summer?
So far?
What do you think is going to be the movie of the summer?
It's going to be Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah.
The pretend indie movie?
Yeah.
Where Disney's pretending to be so poor, but while they literally send them across the world to promote the movie. They're like, but guys, we've spent so much sweat and tears and blood into this movie. And it's like, stop talking about this movie.
Even though it took them how many years to just let them be like, we'll make this movie. And then they're like, it made a ton of money. Then they're like, every movie should be like this movie now. You're just like, no. Yeah. That's not, no. Don't do that.
I mean, they got a lot writing on it, because nothing has worked for them post the conclusion of Thanos and the Avengers movie.
Well, except for Loki Part 2 really worked for them, but everything, I don't understand. There's a backlash for all of the TV content they put out now for some reason, and I don't understand why. Because when WandaVision first came out, people were like, oh my god, it's so good, it was art. They're like, WandaVision sucked. I'm like, but why? Why does it suck all of a sudden? Yeah. And the Hawkeye show, was it the best? No. But was it fun and entertaining to watch? Yes. That's
the one with Haley Steinfeld?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was.
It was great. It was very entertaining. Very fun.
And bringing Florence Welch's character was so good. I love that interaction.
Florence Welch?
Is not. Florence Welch is the singer. Who is this?
Pugh.
Florence Pugh. There you go. Florence.
Oh my God.
Flo Joe. Thank God I didn't say Florence Mills.
I don't know who that is.
What's her name? The girl from Stranger Things.
Oh, really? The redhead?
Yeah. No, not the redhead.
Which one?
The main character, 8. Or 9.
That's not 11. First 11. Of all, I know.
8, 9, 10, and 11.
That's not what her name is.
What's her name?
It's Millie Bobby Brown.
Why is her line called Florence Mills then?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or is it called Florence by Mills?
I do not know what you're talking about.
Something I should know, I never know the name of anyone. Never. And this is a constant thing that Tracy and I do in real life, IRL, that I constantly say, who is this person? And then I say something completely random. And Tracy's secret talent that she's going to put on her resume is that she can correctly identify who it is that I'm talking about by then deciphering that I'm not giving her the right reference.
Exactly.
And then she puts it together. So this is a secret skill that she's had for many, many years. And she's had the time to like really hone it in. Yeah. So you're welcome. You're welcome that I gave you that talent.
Like I don't, what?
I gave you that talent. You can't, it's not because of anybody else.
So like, and I saw like Dune Part 2 and stuff.
It was okay.
I liked it.
I thought it was okay.
I actually liked it more than the first one because there's like 40 minutes of that first movie is a perfume commercial. Yeah. It's them in cool outfits in the wind, and there's like when they're on like the first water planet, and what's his face is just on like the cliff for some reason, and like the wind is blowing, and just like I could see like Chanel come up on the side and whatever.
Do you think there should be? Are you gonna look forward to like the Children of Dune thing that they're doing now?
The TV show Dune Prophecy. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah,
and then I think there's supposed to be a third part to the movie. Allegedly,
based on how much money that movie made, they're gonna make a third movie.
It may not be good, but
they're just going into the other books now. Yeah, is all that's gonna happen, because essentially the third book I think is just supposed to be like
he's old then.
It's an intergalactic war. Yeah, that's supposed to happen. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'd watch it. Yeah, I honestly thought it would kind of fall apart in that second movie. But no, it holds up really well.
I think they shot it all together anyway, no? They just cut it up.
Yes, I want to say.
Because he notoriously makes like 4-hour movies. That's what he does. I love watching them.
Villeneuve?
Yeah.
He makes...
Arrival is 3 hours.
Sweeping epics.
Yeah, which I think he encompasses the world.
I did not like Arrival. I will say that.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of Arrival.
I didn't hate it. I just thought the concept,
the world is cool.
Language is time travel, which kind of is, but they made it literal in this, and it was just kind of weird. And I was like, this just seems stupid for all of what's going on.
Better than Interstellar's Love is time travel.
That's not what that was.
No, I know.
He literally got sucked in a black hole. What are you talking about?
And it's his love that brings him back.
Yeah, but he left what's-her-face on a planet to die by herself. It's fine.
Yeah. She deserved it, though.
Yeah, because, she went there for love, and then she landed there and realized he was dead, and then was stuck there.
Yeah.
So I was like, you made your decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did like Interstellar, though. Surprisingly.
We're going to save it for the Interstellar episode.
There's no Interstellar episode. We're all the way on S. We're past
Season
that.
8 of this podcast will have Interstellar on it, because I will personally make sure that I add this movie to her collection. She's forced to talk about it.
We are past it. I've actually gotten gifts of TV shows and stuff.
Oh my god, let's sound off in the comments, y'all, because she's got TV shows now.
I got Community.
Community be a fun watch.
That would be a fun watch.
How many episodes in one season? 22?
Let's
or 13?
See. I got season 2 to 4.
Okay.
And
we're gonna watch all these off camera, and then basically
this just says there's a 505 minutes of content.
That's useless.
I don't know how many episodes that is.
I want to say there are 13 episodes.
Sure. They all have 2 discs. I know, except for this one. This has 1 disc. Why does this have 1 disc?
I think usually the first or second.
No, it says 2 discs. This is 13 episodes. Oh, 22. Oh, it says up here. 22 episodes.
Yeah, when it got picked up by the network, I guess.
No, this first one doesn't have how many episodes. It just says 505 minutes. Mm-hmm. Second season of Community.
Most likely, I think the subsequent seasons, the one with the 22 episodes, third season?
Third.
Okay, so probably the seasons after probably had 22.
No, but the 4th season says there's 13.
Oh, interesting. Probably when they got canceled?
Yes, I think so. And then they did 5 and 6 on Netflix or something. Yeah.
Good show, though. Definitely worthy of its own
episode. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I got there, I was so excited.
I'm going to say worthy of its own episodes. No, for each season.
No, that'd be 1 episode.
Okay.
If the movie comes out before, it'll have more than 1 episode.
You think the movie's coming?
They've been trying to make the movie, yeah.
Without Chevy Chase?
They killed him on the show. Like,
But he come back.
wasn't in the last season.
No, I know.
So it's fine. They could do it.
Just kill him off.
Yeah.
There you go.
It'd be okay. Have you watched anything of note that you're like... Well, you said Long Legs.
Long Legs was good. I'm probably going to watch Deadpool, unfortunately. I feel like the agenda behind the movie kind of annoys me of like, just like, guys, please go watch it because like, we're just like in need of money. You're Disney. I don't think that's the agenda of the movie. But there's a lot of this conjecture about this movie. It's like, guys, it's just...
They're putting a lot of pressure on it because they're trying to keep the MCU alive. Yeah. Just like,
it's such a work of like love and we've worked so hard on it. You worked hard on it just like you worked hard on all the other Marvel stuff. Like, let's just stop with this narrative.
It's slightly different for Deadpool. I will give them it for Deadpool because initially they wanted nothing to do with it.
Right.
So
yeah. I've been watching. It's been a good summer for horror. There's been a lot of horror coming out.
What else did you watch?
Late Night with the Devil.
Okay.
Good. It's not what you think it is, which is what I liked about it. I do think, obviously, much like
a talk show, isn't it? Talk show thing.
Yeah. It's not exactly what the trailer says, which I think is kind of cool.
Okay.
But I wish there's more. I wish they had just gone a bit further into it, so it would have been even better. But I do. What else did I watch?
Did you watch like what is it, Maxine? Like the third one in like.
No, but I want to.
Okay.
Yeah, but like it's the third in the trilogy of Pearl and X and all that stuff. But I really love those movies though. Mm-hmm. And I think like Mia Goth is like actually a really great actor. Yeah. So I genuinely think like she really, really, and they're wildly different movies. Pearl and X have nothing to do with each other, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. That it's following this arc of a story, but she's playing different people.
Oh.
Yeah, and Maxine is sort of like the fulfillment of that, where she's playing this like 80s kind of actress.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the vibe of the movie too, because it feels a bit more like this like rock and roll kind of video. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I really do want to go see it.
Cool. All right.
I'm just spoiled by the fact that nothing consistently plays in VIP. Like, it was very hard to find day one playing in VIP.
No, I actively go out of my way not to pay VIP or 3D or Screen X or 4D or whatever.
Screen X.
I bought tickets for Deadpool in regular.
Yeah.
And I was legitimately shocked it was available in regular.
Yeah.
It was available because I was scrolling down of all the times and the screens it was
Isn't that hilarious that they list all the other ones first and then regulars at the bottom?
Yeah. Because even when I saw day one, I had to see it in IMAX because it was not available in a regular screen.
Day one was playing in a really weird way for a movie that was produced by a major studio. It was playing in really, really weird ways because it came out at the same time as Inside Out.
Yes, which I have not seen yet, which upsets me. Oh, reminds me, I saw Imaginary, and it kind of falls back.
Okay,
it's cute, but it's also like with the movie Up. This is not a kids movie, and I'm depressed after I watched it.
Right.
Is there cute things in it? Are things colorful? Is there a dance sequence? Yes. At the end of the movie, is everybody happy and whatever? They pretend to be, but they're definitely not.
Yeah.
No.
Since Imaginary is 10 out of 10 do not recommend.
Not 10 out of 10 do not recommend, but just be prepared.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying. Get your emotions in check
your loins
before you go in there. I guess it's the same thing with like Inside Out. I haven't seen it yet. I'm upset I haven't seen it yet. But yes, I will get around to it. Sorry, see what as we talk, things are popping up. I'm like, oh, this reminds me.
I mean, you do see movies more than I do regularly, but I've been very happy because usually there's a bit of a shortage of good horror, and I've been getting spoiled because I'm a horror buff. Mm-hmm. I don't really watch as many movies as you for sure, but you can get me out of my house for a horror movie.
Ugh, get me out of the house for like anything.
Yeah,
because people are just like, do you want to see this? I was like, not really, but like.
I'll go see it.
Oh, come on. I'm like, okay. That's all it takes.
There you go.
It's the extra, like, come on.
It's 2 hours. It's not it's worst case scenario. It's 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think that's what happened with day one. Because I was just like, no, this is a horror franchise. They're like, oh, it's not that kind of horror.
Yeah. And she's amazing. And that cat is a troll. That cat is the ultimate troll.
Well, they say the cat, some people are saying, like, no, that cat is a magical creature. It's not a real cat. And I was like, you know what? I get it.
Let's.
We have to stop. We're
going to stop here because this is going too far. So we're going to stop that.
Before we dive into
think of fantastical creatures and beings.
I don't know. Sure. Yeah. Just kind of go into it.
Yeah. Day one cat is not real. Just saying.
Oh. Okay, can I just say one other thing? So apparently, before that movie started, Lupita was deathly afraid of cats.
Yeah, I heard about this.
And while filming the movie, like, she had to go to, like, therapy. They had to do, like, sessions and all this kind of stuff for her to get comfortable with the cat being around. Yeah. And then she fell in love with the cat so much that she adopted her own cat. Yeah. And she got this little orange cat that's so cute that she takes everywhere.
I mean, I'm just saying that Tracy's cat is the same cat as the cat in Day One, so.
What?
Just saying.
Please, he would run away from me while I was getting eaten, okay? Whereas this cat would, like, fight the monsters. Different.
Yeah.
Different.
No, really good cast.
I'd be like, "Come here, kitty," and he'd be like, "Meow."
Yeah, I was very sad for the guy from oh my god, the other horror movie that I really like with Toni Collette. That's when
Hereditary?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I was like, oh, why you gotta always die in all the movies you're in?
Okay, Hereditary is on my list of movies to watch. I have not brought myself to watch it yet. I can't
Great horror movie if you like an all-out horror, like a real horror.
This is my problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched The Blackening.
I did too.
It was entertaining. It was cute.
Anyway,
right. Sorry, I'm divulging.
We're gonna stop
again. Yes. Okay. Anyways, so
thank you for sharing with me what you've been seeing this summer.
So I think I have an idea of what you're gonna say, but what is your final recommendation about these two movies? Again, we're talking about the movies we're here to talk about. Sideways and Shopgirl. Yes.
I would say that if you are not currently being plagued by toxic men, definitely watch both of these. However, if you've recently experienced this in your own life, take a break and watch something else. Because I really found it triggering to watch certain scenes. I was like, oh my god, I can't. This is just, it's really putting me off.
Yeah, well, because like we said, they're horrible men, and it's true. Some of them are triggering.
Yeah.
But if you're into movies that are character studies, I recommend watching.
And they're quieter movies, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and so like they were like easy to take in. There was nothing graphic, or there wasn't like. There's a butt in one of them. It's not in both of them. There's a butt. Actually.
Yeah.
But no, there's nothing like. There's no gratuitous sex. There's no excessive cussing. There's no outward violence or anything like that. They're just easy.
In one of them, there is a dangling male appendage. So
Oh, that's right. I did forget.
But
it's really funny.
But you figure out which one it is. So watch it.
It is really funny.
Sound off in the comments.
Yeah. Oh my god.
If you know which one.
Well, Nilesh, like I said, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming back on. And you talk a lot about movies. Show up whenever you like.
There we go. So if you guys want me in another episode, just not knowing the names of any of the actors, go off.
You're just gonna randomly say things at me all the time. I get it.
There you go. It's helping you flex your secret skill.
It is. Yeah. You're like that guy with the hair, with the eye, and he was in that movie with the car.
Not knowing the name of the director or anything like that, and she clocks it every time. So, like
and
I said,
I'm like, Baby Driver? You're like, yes.
You're my useless Alexa for life.
You're welcome. It's not useless if you need the information.
No, absolutely. And hit comments. Comment on this podcast. It's necessary for Tracy to continue to do this and be useless Alexa. So
I do have to get you up. You're like my hype person. You do have to come back.
There you go. So comment, troll her. It all works.
Oh, God.
If you're listening to this on Spotify, then don't forget to rate it.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for this episode of Off My Shelf. Until next time, you can follow along on Instagram and Twitter at ohmyshelf, or you can send an email to ohmyshelf@gmail.com. This episode was produced and edited by me, Tracy, with original theme song by Ori Falconer. Like, subscribe, leave a comment wherever you listen to this podcast. Come back next time to see what falls off my shelf.